I was listening to music on the subway when someone suddenly cut a slit in my clothes. Another freebie queen exploiting the 7-day no-reason return policy. Why didn't you cut the tag off if you were wearing new clothes out? Clutching my bleeding hand, I accused her of carrying a dangerous item on public transport and demanded compensation for the damaged clothing. Looking defiant, she posted the video of her cutting my tag online. I tried to be the hero and call out a freeloader, but ended up getting blackmailed. If you're too broke to afford clothes, maybe don't flaunt yourself on the street. Netizens rallied behind them, calling me a shameless refund scammer. Even the seller jumped in to roast me for buying and returning items. Left with no choice, I had to post the missing child notice from the clothing tag, along with my purchase receipt from 3 years ago. Fortunately, riding on this wave of attention, the merchant was reunited with his biological son, who had been abducted 18 years ago. Unfortunately, the merchant turned around and accused me, claiming he had never printed the missing child notice on the clothing tags. He even accused me of violating his son's portrait rights and demanded compensation. Under immense psychological pressure, I suffered from severe depression and ultimately took my own life by jumping from a building. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the moment the subway scissor wielder was cutting my clothing tag. 1. Before the scissor wielder could make a scene, I feigned shock and spoke first. "Oh my, look at me. I'm so out of it from work I forgot to remove the tag. Thank you so much, young lady." The scissor wielder lived to be only about 18, her face full of disdain. "Who knows if you're just trying to keep the refund for yourself? You're only saying that because I called you out. In my past life, I always believed that communication was the only way to resolve issues between people." I completely forgot that the girl had her heart set on becoming an internet celebrity. She just wouldn't let it go, insisting I was trying to get something for free, even after I explained that I kept the tag because it had a missing person notice printed on it, and even showed my purchase receipt from 3 years ago. She still rallied a bunch of trolls to accuse me of swapping the tags and putting on a holier-than-thou act. Who knows if that receipt is even real, in this day and age? Anyone can Photoshop something. Oh, so Tag Girl is trying to whitewash her image with charity. Why doesn't she just sell herself off to the countryside to have babies then? I can't believe someone would wear clothes with the tag still on for 3 years straight. So what if her hand got cut? Maybe now she'll think twice before trying to scam stores for free clothes. These days, does having the tags on automatically mean you're returning it? Even Conan isn't as clever as they are, but right now, I can't be bothered to explain. Let her cut it however she wants to. Just then, the elderly lady next to us, sharp-eyed, spoke up. "Young lady, your hand is bleeding." I looked and saw that she hadn't just cut off the tag. They even slashed a 10-centimeter gash across the back of my hand. Before I could even say a word, Scissorhand snapped. "So what? I'm serving justice. Let's see if she dares to wear clothes for a week and then return them for a refund again." The girl looked utterly smug. You'd think she owned every clothing store in the world. I'm going to travel the world with a pair of scissors, cutting off tags. I always steer clear of lunatics brandishing sharp objects in public. I quickly tried to smooth things over. "It's fine, really. It's just a shirt. I've had it for 3 years anyway. It's not worth much." The girl snorted disdainfully, her nose in the air. "Ha, looks like you wore it for 3 days. If I hadn't cut the tag, you'd be demanding a refund right about now." Then, she shot me a challenging look and silently mouthed 3 words, "Freeloader." The onlookers in the train car all frowned. I threw up my hands, signaling there was nothing I could do about her, but there's always a well-meaning bystander who can't stand to watch. Damaging someone else's property warrants compensation, whether she wore it for 3 days or 3 years, the girl declared with righteous indignation. "On what grounds? I won't pay." As she spoke, she brandished a pair of scissors with force. "Get away from me, you creep." Only then did everyone see the weapon in her hand. The train car erupted instantly, with people scrambling to their feet and backing away. My God, how did she get that past security? Conductor, where's the conductor? Oh my God, I'm just trying to get to work. Why do I keep running into these weirdos? The scissor-wielding girl was full of rage. But the early morning commuters were even more furious. Soon after, subway staff and passengers worked together to subdue the scissor-wielding girl. She was then taken away. 3. At night, I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone. I actually came across that Scissorhands guy's video again. Hashtag delivering justice and dealing with the freeloader girl. I'll cut as many tags on the street as I have followers. Let's see if the little princess dares to freeload again. Hashtag, in just 1 hour, there were already over 100 comments. The number of followers has grown to several thousand. Virtue points +1 +1 +1. Funny, saying you forgot to remove the price tag from a 3-year-old piece of clothing. Why not say you forgot to ask your boss for your paycheck? Dubbed Edward Scissorhands, specializing in cutting down fairies. And she didn't even bother to blur my face. Soon, sharp-eyed netizens tracked down my Douyin account and left comments. "What a piece of trash. If you can't afford to live, then don't." Sympathies to the seller. This world really has all kinds of people. Do you think it's easy for sellers to make money? Why don't you go find a tall building to jump off? You freeloading B asterisk TCH, go die. You return happy B asterisk TCH. They must have eaten the world's entire supply of SH asterisk T to spew such filth. The pathetic thing is, in my past life, I actually took that crap to heart, flaunting purchase receipts, posting missing person flyers, and what did that get you in return? The tag in the video is purple. But the one you posted is white. That's a classic bait and switch. Serves you right. Who wears clothes without removing the tags? Just take the criticism from netizens. What's it to you if the shop owner posts missing person notices? You left the tag on because you wanted a freebie. It's almost laughable that I bought this purple waterproof case specifically to protect the tag every time I put on the clothes. I make sure the side with the missing person notice is facing out, looking back. What I can't wrap my head around is how someone could just casually film me and put me on trial online, as if wearing an extra tag makes me less of a person, free for anyone to judge. Where did all these self-righteous crusaders come from? They're just trying to look superior by putting me down to get clicks, well, now I'm hitting back with a report, big deal, a right of publicity, like I don't have one too. Public opinion needs to let the dust settle, otherwise, every fame-hungry influencer will copycat this, taking scissors to the streets to cut people's hair. Early the next morning, I arrived at the office. Before going in, I felt a bit uneasy. Online vitriol can be avoided, but in-person insults force a direct confrontation. Surprisingly, almost no one at the company paid any attention to the Scissorhands badge incident. We're all just here to work a job. Sitting at our desks feeling completely drained of life, I asked several colleagues, and they all shook their heads, saying they hadn't heard about it. I knew she was the new intern, but her words struck a chord with me. Why should I listen to sensationalist accounts online? A single misleading post can take a mountain of effort to debunk. I work with you every day. I have a mind of my own and can judge right from wrong for myself. That statement instantly opened my mind. So what on earth was I so hung up on in my past life? Online and offline life are worlds apart, as if they exist on different planets. Why should I get upset over people who were just looking for an excuse to criticize me? And so, I threw myself into my work, heart and soul. I went from being a workhorse to a nuclear-powered beast of burden. When I finally went on leave after the project wrapped up, I checked my phone and realized 9 whole days had flown by. 9 days is more than enough time for a content creator to build a following from scratch. The video of someone trying to frame me on the subway was taken down after I reported it for violating my portrait rights. She was completely and utterly shattered. She posted 5 videos in a row, calling me petty and pathetic, but in her new videos, she was generous enough to blur my face. Those 5 videos have already gotten over 10,000 likes, and her own account has even gained 20,000 followers. She even changed her username to Edward Scissorhands. That's a bit of an insult to Dep. 5. The comment section was up in arms. As I scrolled down, I realized the public's anger had moved beyond just the issue of returns. It had gotten to the point where simply seeing a price tag was enough to accuse someone of abusing the 7-day no questions asked return policy. Even though the 7-day no questions asked return policy is a legitimate consumer right, most of the people attacking me aren't just criticizing me personally, they're using me as an excuse to insult the entire female demographic for being serial returners. Then they'll post a few pictures of clothes and shoes, trying to prove that the brothers never return anything. Merchants absolutely love customers who never return anything. What's there to be proud of? Who doesn't love an easy mark? It's only human nature. As the public discourse evolved, a few scattered comments defending me finally started to appear. Isn't that just the morning rush hour cattle car subway? Everyone's got a face like thunder. Forgetting to take off a tag is nothing. They probably left their brains at home too. Oh look, another little fairy who abuses the 7-day no questions asked return policy. Seriously, I don't get it. How does a simple price tag justify doxing and cyberbullying a regular person without even blurring their face? If she's already thrown shame out the window, what's a little online bullying? She can just take it. All these people who are meek and submissive in real life, afraid to speak up about pay cuts, afraid to quit when they're berated, afraid to order takeout without a coupon, afraid to take a taxi home, get online and suddenly see the light. Turns out the world is categorized by tags. People without tags are born superior. What a tag-based calamity. In the end, the comment section had almost entirely devolved into a brawl. I'm ignoring all of it. Now is not the time to set the record straight. I'm waiting for the beneficiary behind it all to come out and play the victim. A week later, the moment I got to the office and turned on my computer, I heard a colleague shriek, "Ella, you're trending. Oh my god, are these people insane? How dare they do a live unboxing?" I opened my phone and saw that Scissorhands lady was doing a joint live stream with the merchant, bitterly complaining about how the 7-day no reason return policy for female customers had led to massive inventory pileup. All that hard-earned money went straight down the drain. Art Song went missing when he was 9. The whole family pitched in to open an online store, just to make it easier to search for our child. All these years, I've been selling things while searching for my child. Every penny I've saved was for the hope that when my child returns, they can live a good life. But now, I haven't found my child, and now people are wearing the clothes and then returning them. I'm begging you, all you fairies online, please have mercy on a poor soul like me. The comment section was filled with righteous indignation. It's all because of that woman with the subway sign. I've made the information public. Check my profile. Everyone, make sure to call and report this as much as possible. The shop owner already lost their child, which is heartbreaking, and now they're getting hit with returns. I'm going to buy a few items right now to show my support. Maybe the owner should put up a sign on their page. No purchases from little fairies or dogs allowed. Ha, you've got a point. Leave the purchasing power to us real men. The boss actually went ahead and changed the homepage to say no purchases for little fairies or dogs. Sales immediately plummeted off a cliff. Wait, why is nobody buying anything anymore? I feel sorry for the boss, and I sympathize with him for losing his child, but I'm a woman. I'd have to be out of my mind to shop at a store that insults me like that. I just bought this a few days ago, and the quality was great. Went back to the store today and saw this sign. I was so disgusted I threw the clothes away immediately. What happened? Has the owner lost their mind? Blocked. In less than half a day, the owner urgently changed the homepage back. 6. I watched the whole thing unfold from start to finish. I was just about to dump all the evidence and call the police. Then my boss called me into a meeting. The previous project's return had quintupled. So the company immediately launched a second one and put me in charge. During the meeting, I presented the plan in a clear and methodical manner. Only after the top brass and senior executives had nodded in approval did he set down the folder, asking the perfunctory question, "Does anyone have any other comments?" Everyone shook their heads, except for a male intern in the corner who raised his hand. "I do." The boss's eyes lit up. Thinking the other person had a constructive suggestion, he quickly urged, "Go on, esteemed leaders. I wish to report that Ella does not remove the tags from her clothes." The declaration was firm and resounding. The boss thought he was hearing things. "What did you say?" Seeing the boss's stern expression, the male intern thought top management was furious and hurriedly opened his phone. "Boss, Ella wearing clothes with the tags still on has ruined a merchant's life and it's trending online. It's severely damaging the company's image. Please fire her immediately." Everyone in the room looked at him as if he were an idiot. I stood by with my arms crossed. While I didn't know the netizens, I certainly knew the boss. The boss calmly took the phone, and the deeper he looked, the more his brow furrowed. The intern thought he was being commended for his report. "Look, it's absurd that a freeloader like her is still holding a manager's position." The boss took a deep breath. "All right then. Who do you think is suitable for the manager position?" At this moment, the male intern's direct supervisor was breaking out in a cold sweat. "Mr. Michael, my apologies. I failed to train the staff properly." As he spoke, he tried to pull the intern away, but the intern immediately shook him off. "I knew it. You're just jealous I'm more capable than you. That's why you won't make me a permanent employee." The big boss has a keen eye for talent, as expected. "That's right. I'm the most qualified person for the manager position." Sure, I mooched off my parents for 3 years, and my wife supported me for another 3, but in those 6 years, I've accumulated a mountain of failure. They say failure is the mother of success. Well, I'm the mother of the mother of the mother of success. I'm bound to make it. As the words hung in the air, a dead silence fell over the conference room. The leader's jaws dropped, and the intern's supervisor wore an expression of sheer agony, as if having a heart attack. Only Mr. Michael let out a laugh. "All mid-level and above managers in HR and planning will submit a written self-critique and a department plan to me. As for you," he turned his attention to the male intern, "don't bother coming in tomorrow." "Why?" Ignoring the intern's protest, Mr. Michael walked up to me. "You have 10 days. I'll have our legal team assist in silencing this online noise. All your focus must be on the project. I will not tolerate any mistakes." I nodded. "Understood." The meeting was adjourned. The male intern, trembling, blocked Mr. Michael's path. "On what grounds are you firing me?" "I did it for the company's image. I'm a loyal asset." But he didn't know that someone like Michael, who only has eyes for money, couldn't care less about so-called public opinion. "So, you've got a side hustle selling clothes?" The male intern shook his head. "No. I don't have the money for that." "Then what the hell do you care about the price tags?" "But I'm doing it for justice." Mr. Michael sneered. "I only care about the bottom line." Shortly after, the male intern was dragged out by security. 7. After the meeting, the intern's manager took me out for 3 meals to apologize. He was practically begging me, in so many words, not to cut his team's budget. I waved my hand, indicating it was nothing. Meanwhile, the public outcry intensified, escalating to the point where simply having a tag meant your whole family deserved to die. I felt completely disoriented. Things that blow up online, with insults hurled at your ancestors for 18 generations, don't even make a ripple in real life. I handed the purchase receipt to the company's legal department and went with them to file a police report. Soon after, the group's official website posted a lawyer's letter. They only explained that my purchase was made over 3 years ago. As for why I didn't cut the tag off, that's my prerogative. Tag Slayer, another handcrafted cease and desist. Go ahead, sue me. 3 days later, as he wished, a lawyer's letter was delivered to the opposing company, demanding their appearance in court. This scared the person into immediately deleting the comment and pinning an apology letter to the top of their profile. Keyboard warrior from beyond the wall. Purchase receipts can be faked. Who knows if it's photoshopped or not? Our company directly presented the authentication certificate and demanded an apology from the other party. The other party simply deleted their account and vanished. Fortunately, the company submitted a chain of evidence to the platform, demanding transparency. No matter where he runs, a legal notice will be right on his heels. Soon, under the sharp edge of the law, the mudslinging began to evaporate. But the scissor lady and the merchant were furious. The two of them broke down in tears during the live stream. Friends, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but the tag cutting plan is dead in the water. I tried to fight for the merchants' rights, but I've been silenced. The other party is a manager from a major corporation. We're no match for them. My poor son is still missing to this day. I'm sorry, son, it's your father's fault for not making enough money to bring you home. They were both crying, each one more pitiful than the last. Anyone who didn't know better would think I was the one who started the online harassment. This is so tragic. What did the shopkeeper do wrong? He just wanted his son to come home. And what did that young woman on the subway do wrong? It's not like she kidnapped the shopkeeper's son. It's her own fault for not removing the tags and causing a misunderstanding. What misunderstanding could not removing a tag possibly cause? Weren't you the ones who jumped to the stereotype that tags on equals ready for a return and then dragged her online for public shaming? Even though she showed the purchase date, she never explained why the tags were still on. What normal person wears clothes with the tags still attached? I'm sorry, but I'm just a useless stay-at-home mom. My husband gives me $3,000 a month and complains I spend too much. I have to keep receipts for everything. And I'm even afraid to cut the tags off my kids' clothes, terrified he'll accuse me of wasting money. These are just a few isolated cases. It's understandable. That woman on the subway is an executive too. Why on earth would she try to get a freebie out of a piece of clothing? What's so hard to understand? Women just love getting something for nothing. I'm telling you. It doesn't matter if she's an executive or even a female CEO, she might still pick through the trash. Classic. The person above has clearly never been wealthy, fantasizing about a CEO digging through garbage. I'm a bit puzzled. Are all those people who are so adamant about not removing tags actually store owners? Why are they so passionate about this? We're fighting for justice. With all the foul language being thrown around, I thought everyone online was a store owner. Turns out, that's not the case. So what if we're not? We're standing up for the store owners' rights. Is this really about justice, or are they just unhappy with their own lives? Once they discover online that people with certain labels can be freely attacked, do they just start venting their anger without restraint? Are you just being a contrarian? You keep defending the people who return items. Who's going to stand up for the sellers? Speaking as a seller myself, returns are a constant reality. But customers who don't return items after buying make up about 90% of the total. Opening a store inherently comes with the risk of returns, but no shop has ever gone out of business solely because of them. Starting a business carries the risk of debt. Being a stay-at-home mom carries the risk of unemployment. Flying a plane carries the risk of a crash. You have to understand and accept the risks involved when you undertake anything. Handling returns is part of a seller's job. Both men and women return items, so how did this turn into a witch hunt? Isn't it strange? In reality, the proportion of customers who don't return items is as high as 90%, yet no one steps forward to give any credit for that, because returns are a minority, and those who intentionally return items after the 7-day period are a minority within a minority. They're just latching onto a single point of contention and blowing it out of proportion to attack others. If that many people were actually returning items, PDD would have gone out of business long ago. How has such a seller-unfriendly platform not been driven to bankruptcy by returns? 8. As the cease and desist letters were issued, public opinion began to cool down. I have refrained from making any public statements, choosing instead to focus all my attention on the project. In less than 3 days, online discussion about the tag incident plummeted. Meanwhile, the hashtag about the merchant finding their biological son gradually climbed the trending charts. It turned out that someone who had bought the same clothes as me uploaded a photo of the tag. Help me speak out. I also left the tag on my clothes. It has a photo of my boss's missing child. I often wear it out, hoping more people will see the picture and help find the child. Perhaps that subway worker kept her tag on for the same kind-hearted reason. But what awaited her was not a change of heart or kindness, nor was it a public apology. It's just dripping with sarcasm. See, I told you, only little fairies would keep the tags on. We guys don't have that many tricks up our sleeves. Here comes the whitewashing, using the story of a lost child to cover up a 7-day no questions asked return. So then, if nobody cuts the tags off anymore, how are the merchants supposed to stay in business? The further I read, The clearer a certain truth became to me. People come online with their answers already in hand, just seeking validation. When a mom posts her child's photo, it's to hear others say how adorable the kid is. When a struggling student posts a poor grade, it's to be reassured that they'll be fine even if they end up working a job instead. When workers call themselves beasts of burden, it's partly to find some comfort in seeing others, even more pitiful than themselves, still toiling away on overtime. No one cares about the truth. They already have their answer in their hearts. The young woman who spoke up for me ultimately posted her purchase receipt from 5 years ago in disappointment, then deleted her account. Meanwhile, the merchant held a high-profile live stream to reunite with his long-lost son. In the video, he hugged the young man in his 20s and wept uncontrollably. "My son, I've finally found you. You're set for life now. All these years I've slaved away running this shop, my hair turned gray from the toil, and it was all for you." Before the son could even call him dad, the label of unfilial was already slapped on him. "Come on, let's go home with your dad. From now on, we'll do live stream sales together and build a proper business." The buzz around the lost child's homecoming and family reunion completely overshadowed the hype about the clothing tags. I simply treated the whole uproar as having blown over and continued to push the project forward. After 2 hectic weeks, I finally caught a moment to breathe. During lunch, the female intern next to me leaned in with her phone. "Ella, look at this. What a show. It's a real dogfight." I lifted my head from my bowl. A video is playing on the phone, showing a merchant weeping bitterly. "Ever since I got him back, I've been feeding him well, taking good care of him, and working hard to earn money for him. What more could he possibly be unhappy about? I think he's been brainwashed by the traffickers and won't even acknowledge me as his own father. Tell me, fellow netizens, what has all my suffering these years been for? How unfilial. He won't even recognize his own father. He doesn't deserve to be called a human being." Exactly. Those aren't adoptive parents, they're traffickers. I should have smothered you at birth, raising you just to have you come back and torment me like this. The intern closed the video and clicked into another live stream. It was the son the boss had found. With red-rimmed eyes, he began to explain. "It was suffocating. As soon as I got home, he made me hand over my phone and ID card, cutting off contact with my adoptive parents just like that. We agreed to split the live stream earnings 70-30, with me getting 30%. After streaming for 5 days, I didn't get a single cent. He just kept dangling the carrot, saying everything would be mine when he died, packing and shipping orders all day, live streaming all night. I was only getting 3 hours of sleep. I just couldn't take it anymore." The barrage was full of sarcastic comments. "If you can't even handle this little hardship, just wait until you see what your father has in store for you. I see now, you're just an ungrateful wretch coming to beg for money. No wonder the traffickers took you. A child with no filial piety is better off dead somewhere far away." The boy was driven straight to tears. He broke down and screamed, "I was never kidnapped. He had an affair, got a divorce, and then sold me off just to pay the bride price for his new marriage. All these years, he's been raking in money using the search for me as a cover. He knew where I was the whole time. I only went back because he harassed my adoptive parents and forced me to." The live stream chat was flooded with exclamation marks, but some people still refused to believe it. They've just been brainwashed by the traffickers. The boy pulled out his phone and shoved it right in front of the camera. "You're defending him. Do you know what he says about you behind your back?" The video started playing, and the shop owner began his tirade. "These idiots online are so easy to fool. All I have to do is rant about women and put on a show of being a dutiful father and filial son, and they eat it up. I could even send them empty packages, and they wouldn't dare ask for a refund. Don't worry, I've had this game figured out for ages. Back when I was younger, I'd rail against exorbitant bride prices online. Those suckers would shower me with donations, and I'd turn around and pay a fortune in to marry my wife. If it weren't for the publicity of this family reunion search and the moral high ground, you think I'd actually want you back? Cross me, and I'll beat you to a pulp." Instantly, the live stream chat fell silent. No one spoke up for the shop owner anymore. Some even went and raided the shop owner's live stream. 9. I left the live stream and let out a long, weary sigh. At this point, it had absolutely nothing to do with me. The buzz over the tag had long been eclipsed by the spectacle of a dog-eat-dog fight. Fortunately, I also completed my second project successfully, and the company gave me a week of paid leave. While I was vacationing in Bali, the shop owner had already shut down and issued an apology, because the moment he reopened, a flood of orders would come in only to be returned. Those who once supported him are now the ones cursing him the loudest and returning their purchases the most aggressively. Immediately after, the Scissorhands influencer also tipped to the live stream to accuse the shop owner of withholding their sales commission. The hapless partnership completely fell apart. The Scissorhands influencer continued cutting people's clothing tags out on the street. She was beaten several times, and the incidents even escalated to the police station. Her account was suspended for a time. Undeterred, she began orchestrating her own stunts, hiring people to wear clothes with the tag still on, only to deliberately cut them off. But soon enough, she faced the consequences of her actions. Someone secretly took an upskirt photo of her and posted it online. Is this that famous scissorhand girl? She's quite pretty, and her legs are so slim. She immediately fired back with a video, denouncing this vile behavior. However, because she consistently posts videos of cutting girls' clothing tags, the majority of her followers are male. The comment section instantly lit up with laughter. Now this is what I call a treat. No need to be shy, you won't post any yourself. But you won't let others post either. Cheeky streamer. Hurry up and post that low-cut photo, I'll be the first to back you up. The editor was so furious they kept clapping back at fans in the comments section. This is a serious matter, don't talk nonsense. Humiliating women and tarnishing reputations, is that what a fan should be doing? But then, a male fan delivered the crushing blow. Aren't you the one who's been shaming women all along? You're the one who staged those photo shoots with female models wearing clothes with the tag still on. You know perfectly well who's really betraying women. To make matters worse, the person who took the upskirt photo secretly photoshopped a clothing tag onto the image. Then came the slander. This wasn't an upskirt shot, it was exposing a little fairy who doesn't remove her tags. Who would have thought the famous scissorhands lady wears clothes with the tag still on? Is she that hard up for cash? Once a male spiritual leader appeared, the scissor wielder was immediately cast aside. A massive wave of fans unfollowed, and the reason given was so self-righteous, disgusting. The scissor wielder forgot to cut their own tag off. Some people never change. She didn't even cut the tags off. Brothers are just more reliable. You can always count on your own crew. At the end of the day, she's still a woman. Women always look for an advantage. Overnight, she lost over 100,000 followers. The ones who stuck around are all in the comments begging for freebies. You don't even know how to run an account. Post more fan service pics, show us your legs, wanna meet up, same city, you know, serves you right. She was so upset she started crying on the live stream. This is pure slander, a total Photoshop job. Are you blind? I would never post that disgusting picture, so you can just give up on that idea. How dare you say I deserved it? Aren't you a woman too? Is this how you treat another woman? Let's be honest, you're just jealous. Later. She deleted her account, switched to making videos about her beloved daughter, and interacted harmoniously and affectionately with her close friends. Unfortunately, nobody bought it. The flip side of the internet having no memory is that once you've been famous, your stains will be remembered. Her new videos not only failed to gain followers but also made more women aware of her past. Isn't this the famous scissorhands? I thought you said you didn't care about female fans. Just to clarify. While I've never once seen a stranger go out with a clothing tag still on, she goes out 100 times and 99 of those times, she spots a girl with a tag and cuts it off for them. The number of times victims have called the police has reached 10. I can't take it anymore. Watching her interact with her best friend, I'm terrified she'll whip out a pair of scissors and cut her friend's clothes to shreds any second now. 10. Basking in the sun, I calmly unfollowed the account. Clicked not interested. From then on, that whole mess vanished from my online life. Vacation over, I returned to the office and immediately dove into new projects. On the day of the branch office's grand opening, I went over to cut the ribbon. I also took the opportunity to oversee the hiring process. I immediately spotted two familiar faces. One was the person with the scissors, and the other was the shop owner. It turned out the person with the scissors was named Fiona, and the shop owner was named Frank. HR mentioned they were father and daughter. Their family went bankrupt, forcing them to seek work. A cold sweat instantly broke out on my back. In other words, in a past life, she likely deliberately obtained my information from her father's shop and orchestrated the whole charade herself to promote the shop's products. These two, rejected. HR didn't even ask any questions, just replied with received. After work, as I was leaving through the lobby, I heard a father and daughter making a scene. On what grounds? Your company discriminates against vocational school graduates, just applying for a cleaning job, and you need a degree to sweep floors. The HR representative smiled politely. MS, Fiona, our records show you have over a dozen prior offenses. Your old account was quite notorious. I've seen it myself. Well, it was just about cutting off tags. The camera angles were highly suggestive of voyeurism. Our company takes employee privacy very seriously. What if you were to start filming in public again to build a following, and then try to pass it off as just tag cutting? Fiona was instantly deflated. Judging by her guilty look, she probably had actually considered it, after she failed the job interview. The shop owner slapped her hard across the face. Useless, just like your mother. Later, I heard that Frank hastily divorced his current wife and went crawling back to his ex-wife's son, hoping to be taken care of in his old age. He was thrown out on his ear. Fiona's face is too well known, and coupled with the industry-wide warning I issued, many companies simply won't hire her, prioritizing the safety of their female employees. The dramatic tag incident has finally come to a close. Is it really over? Not at all. I often scroll through Zaya Hongshu and see a bunch of photos of women with their faces blurred. The camera angles are so sneaky, they managed to capture the woman's legs and the tag on her skirt all in one shot. Just a little lower and it would have been a full-on wardrobe malfunction. The comment section is flooded with vitriol, and the crucial topic of women's safety is being buried under the shame of price tags. When price tags are equated with the 7-day no questions asked return policy, it becomes the perfect excuse for voyeurs. Once caught, they brazenly claim it wasn't voyeurism, but that those women just didn't remove their tags, and they'll have a mob of supporters piling on with the same abuse. The victim is victimized all over again. The price tag issue was the merchant's problem to begin with, and they've already fought back by making giant tags. Yet a bunch of so-called champions of justice still use the tags to attack women. The witch hunt never ends. Having a label is no excuse for cyberbullying. Those without labels never receive praise either. Be cautious of trends. Distinguish right from wrong. Focus on yourself. And don't be led astray. Story 2. At the wedding, my boyfriend's 8-year-old brother secretly set off firecrackers inside my wedding dress. The dress caught fire, and I was severely burned and disfigured as a result. My boyfriend's family promised my parents they would spare no effort to get me the best treatment and take care of me for the rest of my life, but on their way home, overwhelmed with grief, my parents were in a car accident that claimed their lives. My boyfriend's family immediately turned hostile, claiming I was soiled because I had been stripped naked during the rescue. They abandoned all medical treatment, took me home, and neglected me until my wounds became infected and I died. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the moment just before the wedding began. Smiling, I asked my boyfriend, "Honey, how about we switch things up for the wedding? You wear the wedding dress, and I'll wear the suit." Watching my laughing friends and my drunk fiancé, I suddenly realized I had been reborn, right back to the night before my wedding. Back then, I stepped into what I thought would be a new life filled with blessings, only to find myself walking straight into a living hell. My boyfriend's younger brother Dong Dong was born when his parents were older, and he's been thoroughly spoiled, a classic example of a misbehaving child. At the same time in my previous life, as we were saying goodbye to friends and heading back to the hotel to prepare for the wedding, I saw Dong Dong playing with firecrackers. I casually warned him a couple of times to be careful and not touch that thing, but I never expected he'd hold a grudge over it. The next day at the wedding, while I was walking from the audience area to the stage as part of the ceremony, he secretly slipped firecrackers into the train of my wedding dress and lit them. The soft fabric of the dress caught fire instantly. The burning material fused with my skin, scorching my entire body relentlessly. Overwhelming pain consumed me. I have no memory of how I was rescued or how I ended up in the hospital. Waking up in the hospital, I realized I had suffered severe burns and was disfigured. To protect Dong Dong, my boyfriend Chinchin's family promised they would do everything in their power to help me recover, and that Chinchin would treat me well for the rest of his life. Our family wasn't well off, and my heartbroken parents had to set aside their anger, prioritizing my recovery above everything else. Little did we know, they were involved in a fatal car accident on their way home to pack belongings for my hospital stay. The vehicle was destroyed, and they died instantly. Chinchin's family immediately turned pale, and the whole household started cursing me, calling me shameless and promiscuous, because on the day of the wedding, when I was rescued, my clothes were torn off in public. They refused to pay another penny for my treatment, discharged me from the hospital, and left me at home without any care. In the end, I died from an infected wound. Their family got away without paying any price, and even ended up with the inheritance that should have been mine and my parents'. How could I possibly accept this injustice? In this lifetime, I'll make sure Chinchen's family gets a taste of their own medicine, too. After seeing my friends off, I noticed Dong Dong playing with firecrackers and gently tried to talk him out of it. "Dong Dong, firecrackers are really dangerous. You should keep your distance. If one goes off, you could get hurt." Mr. Chin, who was standing nearby, didn't look too pleased. Dong Dong might be young, but he knows what he's doing. There's no way he'll hurt anyone. In my past life, I got into an argument with Chinchin over wedding preparations and spoke harshly. His parents immediately pointed their fingers at me and scolded me, saying I was meddling in their family affairs before even marrying into their family. Seeing Dong Dong's small eyes glaring at me fiercely, I sighed. I had done everything I could. "Uncle and Auntie, please rest early. Chinchin is helping me set up at the hotel today. Tomorrow morning, his groomsmen will pick him up, and then we'll all go to the hotel together to get me." With that, I took the drunken Chinchin by the arm and prepared to leave. I didn't close their front door properly, and just a few steps away I could already hear Chen's mother's rather cutting remarks. "She's not even married into our family yet and already finding fault with our son at every turn. If she does marry in, will our Dong Dong ever have a peaceful life?" That nearly made me laugh in disbelief. I've been wondering why this little rascal always greets me with such hostility every time I visit. I'm afraid this wasn't the first time Chen's parents had made comments like this. For all I know, they might have had a hand in that incident in my past life where some brat set fire to me with firecrackers. Do I really have to go through with this marriage? 3. I'm from out of town, and my parents along with relatives and friends are all at the hotel. When we got to the hotel, I sent Chinchin off to sober up first while I went to find my parents. I wanted to see if I could persuade my parents to support me in calling off the wedding. There are plenty of ways to get back at their family without necessarily sacrificing myself in the process. But the moment I told my parents I didn't want to get married, the two of them, who had been wiping away tears, suddenly stopped and threw me out. They even threatened to disown me if I dared to cause any trouble. I had no choice but to return to the room, where a group of our friends and the makeup artist were waiting. After we finished getting everything sorted, Chinchin had sobered up a bit. Seeing everyone eagerly urging me to try on the wedding dress, I got a sudden jolt of excitement. I quickly pulled Chinchin aside and gave him a gentle smile. Honey, how about we have a different kind of wedding? You wear the wedding dress, and I'll wear the suit. I've developed a total aversion to wedding dresses now, and I never want to wear one again in my life. The crowd started egging us on as soon as they sensed some fun. Chinchin didn't want to agree, but he also didn't want to upset me by outright refusing right before the wedding, so he made up an excuse. Dandan. Our parents and relatives are pretty traditional. If we do anything too trendy, they might not be comfortable with it. Suddenly the makeup artist chimed in. Don't worry, bro. It's just to give your wedding a unique opening. After we're done, I'll help you change right away and we'll stick to the original schedule. It'll be quick, trust my skills. The makeup artist's bold promise wasn't out of sudden kindness. It was because I'd just sent her a massive WeChat red envelope. Chinchen's friends, never once to miss out on stirring up trouble, chimed in. Come on, Chen, if you post this online you might go viral. You could become an influencer and never have to work a day job again. You just got married and now you're about to hit the jackpot in both love and career. His friend really gets him, hit the nail right on the head. He's been wanting to break into content creation for ages but never got traction. Isn't this the perfect ready-made material? Seeing him waver, I decided to pile on the pressure. If you agree to this, I'll hand over my salary card after we get married. You'll be in charge of all our finances. Empty promises. As if I couldn't make those two. Let's just get through this wedding first. The moment those words were out, all of Chinchen's close friends immediately started egging him on. That really got me tempted. If my wife would hand over her paycheck to me, I'd not only wear a wedding dress, I'd even strut in a bikini. Chin. Even your wife is saying it. If you don't agree now, what kind of man are you? With the peer pressure mounting and the alcohol clouding his judgment, Chinchin finally caved and agreed. Everyone burst into cheerful laughter, myself included. For once Chinchin agreed, everything fell into place smoothly. I pulled out my phone and ordered a delivery service to buy a wig similar to Chinchin's hairstyle, then made a quick trip to the mall for a pair of thick-soled platform shoes. The makeup artist and MC had to rearrange the schedule with us due to our sudden change of plans, but since I offered extra payment under the table, they came to accommodate us. After a hectic night of getting ready and doing our makeup, I followed Chinchin's friend to their house. To avoid raising suspicion, I wore a mask right away, and Chinchin's friend covered for me by saying it was part of a special wedding performance. Although Chinchen's parents had their reservations about me because of this, we managed to slip away unnoticed and hurried off to pick up the bride. As for Chinchin, though he's slim, he's still more robust than I am. Taking my suggestion, the makeup artist draped a large lace veil over his head. From the outside, it looked hazy and indistinct, just enough to suggest a woman's figure, but no clear details were visible. Seeing this, I was absolutely thrilled. Definitely money well spent. Finally arriving at the scene of that nightmare-inducing ceremony from my past life, I looked through my mask at my parents sitting in the audience, feeling a pang of sadness, but this was no time for sentimentality. I scanned the area and finally spotted the troublemaker, the little rascal Dong Dong. Seeing him sneaking around, I followed him out of curiosity, and what I saw left me utterly stunned. In his previous life, he only had a few small firecrackers, but this time around, he was clutching a whole bunch of sparklers and even some string firecrackers. I quickly had someone drag him over to Mr. and Mrs. Chen, insisting they keep a close eye on the kid and make sure he didn't set off any firecrackers. Only after seeing the family nod impatiently in agreement did I feel a bit relieved and went off to follow the MC's schedule. Just before the ceremony began, I spotted a small figure sneaking up on Chinchin, who was blissfully unaware in her wedding dress. Beneath my mask, I couldn't help but twitch the corner of my mouth. 5. Let's welcome the bride. As the officiant's voice filled the air, Chinchin walked toward the stage, her hand in white lace gloves linked with my father's arm. The two of them captured everyone's attention, and no one noticed the little child sneaking around behind the bride. Perhaps some did notice, but they probably just thought it was some mischievous kid trying to tag along behind the bride for fun. No one noticed the child secretly slipping firecrackers into the massive skirt of the wedding dress. Then they pulled out sparklers and stuffed those in too. As the bride finally paused at the front, the little troublemaker got greedy, struggling to light the stash. The movement was too obvious. I quickly tore off my mask and shouted to the crowd, "Stop him, somebody stop Dong Dong," but everyone thought it was part of the show. Instantly, all eyes in the room were on me, with many gasping in surprise and the whole place erupting in applause. And in the midst of all the commotion, Dong Dong successfully lit the fireworks. The sound of the fireworks burning was drowned out. Terrified, I reached out for my father. Spotting me on the stage, he broke into a grin, released the bride Chinchin, and strode toward me. Wedding dresses are inherently flammable, especially with a long train and an oversized veil. So Chen Chen's wedding dress caught fire even faster than it had in my past life. By the time the fireworks ignited, he still hadn't realized anything was wrong, too short to see what was happening on stage. Dong Dong clapped and jumped with glee at the sight of firecrackers popping nearby, seeing me frantically reaching out and shouting at him, "Take it off, get it off now." Chen Chen finally sensed something was amiss, the searing pain spreading across his body. Accompanied by his younger brother's malicious cheering nearby, he looked down and panicked upon seeing flames engulfing him. Desperate to save himself, he tried to tear off the wedding dress and cried out for help, but the fire gave him no time to call for aid. Just like in my past life, he was swallowed by flames within seconds. No, his fate was even crueler than mine. The burning veil wrapped around his head, turning him into a human torch. His agonized screams instantly filled the air, but the man was more ruthless than I'd imagined. Realizing he couldn't escape the flames, he immediately grabbed Dong Dong. The Chen parents, already frantic seeing their son engulfed in flames, shrieked in horror when they witnessed their eldest son desperately clinging to their youngest. Mr. Chen snatched a bottle of liquor from the table and hurled it at Chen Chen. The alcohol splashed over him like adding fuel to fire, causing flames to shoot up 2 meters high. Chen Chen released his grip in agony. "Are you trying to kill Chen Chen? Even if they deserve punishment, I can't let this torch ignite the venue and cause a fire. Everyone here is innocent except for Chen Chen's family." I rushed to grab the fire extinguisher, shouting, "Move aside. How dare you try to kill him? I won't let you harm Chen Chen." With that, I aimed the fire extinguisher at Chen Chen and sprayed vigorously. As for the potential side effects of spraying a fire extinguisher directly at a person, I'm sorry, I'm just a desperate woman trying to save the love of my life. Watching him about to be killed, how could I possibly think straight? 6. At the wedding venue, a surprise turned into a nightmare. Police cars, fire trucks, and ambulances all arrived at the scene simultaneously, seeing Chen Chen so badly burned. They rushed him into the ambulance for emergency care, but then his mother started causing trouble. She grabbed the brat Dong Dong's scalded hand and blocked the paramedics, insisting they treat her younger son's injuries first. After being refused, she threw a tantrum and yelled, "They're both my sons. Do you think I don't care? But the older one might not even make it. It's better to treat the younger one first." The friends and relatives who had gathered around could hardly keep their composure after hearing this, and they all tried to persuade her to stop making a scene. Watching Chen Chen's condition, far worse than in my past life, I couldn't just let him die now. He still had his uses. I charged forward, shoving aside Mrs. Chen, who was blocking the medics, and screamed at her through tears, "They're both your sons. Why are you so determined to let Chen Chen die? What did he ever do wrong? Trying to burn him alive wasn't enough. Now you're stopping the doctors from saving him. What kind of monstrous parents are you?" Hearing this, the Chen parents panicked, with the police right there, who would want to be accused of murder. They immediately tried to stop me from speaking, but friends, family, and police officers who had seen enough stepped in and held them back. Since Chen Chen's condition was urgent, I accompanied him to the hospital first, while my parents and Mr. Chen stayed behind to handle the aftermath at the wedding. Mrs. Chen came with us to take the unruly child to the hospital for his wound. 7. Chen Chen suffered severe burns, with large areas of his skin fused to the charred synthetic fabric of his clothing, along with residue from the fire extinguisher chemicals. I sat outside the operating room, staring blankly at the red glow of the lights. What was Chen Chen thinking when I was brought here in my past life? Before I could even begin to ponder the answer, someone suddenly slapped me across the face. Mother Chen held Dong Dong's hand, bandaged like a pork trotter, while he glared at me with pure malice. "You wretched woman, if it weren't for you causing trouble at the wedding, my son wouldn't have gotten hurt." I covered my face, the hatred accumulated over 2 lifetimes surging within me. I stared at her intently and demanded loudly, "Your younger son's mischief caused your older son to get seriously injured. How is that my fault?" The brat glared at me hatefully and suddenly shouted, "The firecrackers my mom bought me were meant for you. If you hadn't swapped clothes with my brother, how could I have blown up the wrong person?" What does this mean? Could it be that even back then, when he shoved firecrackers at me, it was all under the Chen family's orders? Seeing Mrs. Chen's face pale with shock at those words, I didn't want to think any further. All the old grudges and new anger surged up inside me. With a furious roar, I lunged forward and pinned her to the ground. With a heavy thud, the back of her head hit the floor, stunning her completely. I swung both arms wildly, slapping her face over a dozen times before slamming her head against the ground. I kept hitting her while shouting, "This is premeditated murder. You're not just trying to kill me, you want to kill Chen Chen too. You're all monsters. Worse than animals." The people around us were trying to break up the fight, but I looked so ferocious that even the bratty kid Dong Dong was too scared to step in. It wasn't until the hospital security showed up that we were finally pulled apart. At that moment, seeing that I was being restrained, Mrs. Chen tried to break free from the people holding her back and came at me. How could I just take this lying down? I immediately shouted, "Call the police." Someone help me call the police and arrest this murderer. My husband is fighting for his life because they tried to kill him. Chen's mother shrank back at my words. It was just a case of a mischievous kid accidentally causing his older brother's serious injury, but if people found out she was the one who instigated the whole thing, whether it would be considered murder or not would be up for debate. Overwhelmed by fear, she had no choice but to swallow her anger and approach me with a stiff, forced smile to try and win me over. Dan, you've got it all wrong. The child was just babbling nonsense. Please don't be angry. As a mother, how could I not want the best for my son and daughter-in-law? 8. Mrs. Chen thought she was being clever, but she didn't realize it only made her look guilty. So, even before Chen made it out of the operating room, his mother was taken away by the police. As Chen's legally wedded wife, I, as the sister-in-law, was temporarily put in charge of looking after that little troublemaker Dong. At first, he was intimidated by my recent outburst of violence against his mother, so he didn't dare act out and just sat there quietly like a scared quail, but he was used to being the little tyrant at home, and on top of that, with all the chaos since morning, no one had eaten a bite, even the adults were struggling, let alone a child. He suddenly jumped in front of me, kicked my leg, and demanded arrogantly, "You bitch, I'm hungry, buy me a burger." My response was a sharp slap across his face. Eat. That's all you ever think about. Your brother's in this state because of you. How dare you ask for food? Everyone who witnessed that whole spectacle understood exactly what led up to it, so no one had any issue with me disciplining the brat, but that kind of bratty behavior doesn't develop overnight. There's no way one slap was going to straighten him out. He let out an ear-splitting shriek, a veritable sonic assault that made everyone waiting outside the ER scowl in disgust. Before anyone could start complaining, I clamped my hand over his mouth, grabbed him by his injured arm, firmly restrained him, apologized to those around us, and hauled him out of there. I dragged him to the deserted area behind the hospital and released my grip. He immediately collapsed to the ground, writhing in pain. Unfortunately for him, there was no one around who cared. I stood coldly by, watching indifferently as he thrashed about and covered himself in filth. Eventually the pain must have subsided, or perhaps he'd simply worn himself out. More likely, he was too weak from hunger to continue. He finally staggered to his feet and stared at me with fearful eyes. "Care to explain why you set off firecrackers near me? You know what happens if you refuse to talk." I clenched my fist, and the clever little brat knew he had no one to back him up anymore. Too scared to throw another tantrum, he spilled everything under my threat. "My mom said we needed to humiliate you at the wedding so it'd be easier to control you after marriage. That's why she told me to play with firecrackers in your wedding dress." What a stupid and vicious family. It's a pity I didn't see through them before marrying into this mess in my past life. Dong followed me back to the emergency room with a pitiful look on his face. Forget about getting any food around me. He was only going to get a mouthful of air. The moment I arrived, a nurse immediately called me over to pay the bill. Why on earth would I willingly pay for Chen? I pointed to my disheveled state, smiled wryly, and said I'd pay once my family arrived. The nurse was quite understanding and sympathetic. We sat there for quite a while before my parents and Chen's father finally came in. I was afraid my parents might be sweet-talked into paying the money later, so I rushed over and knelt before Mr. Chen in front of everyone, begging him, "Dad, please use the wedding gift money to pay for Chen's hospital bills. He's lying in the operating room fighting for his life. You can't just abandon your eldest son because you have a younger one." Yes, I was guilt-tripping him. Mr. Chen was a man of little capability, always scheming and calculating, but extremely concerned about saving face. If I had asked him for the money directly, he would definitely have found a way to make my parents pay instead, so I spoke up first to cut off his escape route. Seeing my reaction, he instinctively clutched the black bag in his hand, then seemed to think better of it and turned to my father-in-laws. "Look at this." I shot my mom a look, and with our mother-daughter, she immediately understood and pulled my father over to our side before he could speak. Seeing no way to shift the blame and unwilling to pay the money, he stood there gripping his bag strap, seemingly at a loss for words. I didn't give him a chance to react. I immediately dropped to my knees and began kowtowing, speaking in a clear, resonant voice that ensured everyone nearby could hear. "Dad, I'm begging you, Chen is still young. With enough money for treatment, he can definitely recover. Please don't give up on him." At that moment, many of the educated youth in the crowd began explaining the situation to newcomers. That family actually used their mischievous youngest son to set off firecrackers under the bride's wedding dress as a prank. Who would have guessed the young couple was being trendy? It was their own son wearing the dress. The poor guy got severely burned and is still in critical condition. What a despicable family. They won't even pay for their own son's treatment, and the girl is only asking for the wedding gift money, which they're refusing to give. Mr. Chen's face twitched at the murmurs around him. He quickly stepped forward to help me up and shoved the black bag in his hand into mine. "What are you doing, kid? I'm his father. I'd sell everything we own to get him the treatment he needs. You have my word." I rose with his support and took the bag. He glanced at Dong, who was clinging to him silently, and casually asked, "Where's your mom?" I kindly explained to him. She's been taken away by the police on suspicion of murder, Mr. Chen froze in shock on the spot, exclaiming, "What, 10? Ignoring the frantic and furious Mr. Chen, I grabbed the bag and pulled my parents along to pay the fees for Chen. On the way, I briefly explained to my parents that Chen's mother might have instructed Dong Dong to set off firecrackers in my wedding dress, all to humiliate me at the ceremony and gain control over me after marriage." My parents were both furious and shaken by what they heard. My mom clutched her chest and exclaimed, "Thank God it wasn't you in that wedding dress. If it had been you lying in that operating room, how would we ever cope?" My dad patted my mom's back to calm her down, though he was clearly just as upset, and said to me, "Divorce? We're divorcing him. My precious daughter can't marry into a family like this and suffer." I waved my hand dismissively, tucked the leftover money from paying the bills into my pocket, and walked out with my parents, holding the empty bag. Not yet. His family is always so afraid of losing out, splitting everything with us down to the penny, and now they're playing mind games behind my back. I won't just walk away without settling this. My mom stared at me in disbelief, then smacked me on the head. "You silly girl, don't you dare get lovesick now of all times." I couldn't tell my parents about my past life, afraid they'd worry. I just assured them I knew what I was doing and asked them not to worry. Finally, they relented. My dad sighed and told me, "If you need anything, just let us know. Don't put yourself through hardship." Speaking of which, I did have one request. Whatever you do, don't lend their family any money, no matter what they say, not a single penny. After updating my parents, we returned to find Chin had already been moved from the operating room to the ICU, where he needed to be monitored for a while. As soon as Chen's father saw our family, he eagerly snatched the black bag from my hands. Feeling it was empty, his face darkened, but it seemed he still needed something from me, so he held back his anger and forced a smile, trying to win me over as he said, "Dandan, Chin has been saved. What your mother did was wrong, but she meant no harm. Could you talk to the police and see about getting her released?" "Released? Of course she should be released. Someone like her wouldn't get much jail time even if convicted. Besides, Chin might not even press charges. She absolutely deserves to face the consequences I've prepared for her." 11. I reached a verbal agreement with Chen's father. He promised to cover all of Chen's medical expenses and ensure his full recovery, so I agreed to release his mother. I wasn't comfortable letting my parents go home alone. After seeing them safely back, I went to pick up Chen's mother. When she saw me again, she avoided eye contact, nothing like the sure she'd been before. The three of them reunited outside the hospital room. After a tearful embrace, they actually turned to leave together, showing no intention of caring for Chin at all. I didn't interfere. When Chin regained consciousness after being moved from critical care to a regular ward, swathed in white bandages, he found only me standing in his hospital room. Noticing his darting eyes, I understood his unspoken question and gently explained, "Dong Dong got burned too these past couple days. Mom and Dad are pretty worried about him, so they might not be able to focus on you right now. Please don't overthink it." Hearing this, his eyes dimmed noticeably. I smirked inwardly. Was he really feeling hurt already? In my past life, I was lying in a hospital bed when they barged in and told me my parents had died in a car accident because of me. They said there was no money left for my treatment and just dragged me out of the hospital, but being the good Samaritan, I knew Dong Dong would come for his dressing change today. I waited nearby, and when I spotted the family of three, I didn't bother with pleasantries. Just scooped up Dong Dong and made a dash for the ward. Of course, the couple couldn't just let it slide. Instinctively, they chased after me. Once inside the room, the couple started hurling obscenities at me, completely disregarding how it might affect Chin. Failing to notice he was awake, with his parents backing him up, the brat Dong Dong tried to swing at me, but I dodged and he ended up falling flat on his face. The couple rushed over to help him, and while they were quiet, I spoke up meekly, "Mom, Dad, you promised you'd spare no expense to get Chin the treatment he needs. Even if it meant bankrupting us. Now that he's doing better, don't you think we should transfer him to a hospital in the provincial capital? The medical care there is superior to what we have here." Chen's father shot back, "I've already consulted the doctors. The skin grafts for burns that extensive would cost a fortune, and he'd still be left with lasting complications. He won't even be able to hold down a job, let alone support us in our old age. What's the point of treating him?" Chen's mother chimed in, "Exactly, all our family's money is meant for Dong Dong's future. Why waste it on that good-for-nothing?" Looking at Chin lying on the hospital bed with his eyes closed and trembling all over, I suppressed a laugh and said, "But this is all Dong Dong's fault. You can't favor your younger son and just ignore your eldest son's well-being." Mrs. Chin rolled her eyes and snapped, "That's because he's useless. If he hadn't swapped clothes with you, none of this would have happened. He's got no one to blame but himself. The family's shameless and brazen attitude was enough to make any outsider's heart sink, let alone poor Chin lying vulnerable in that hospital bed." At that moment, I was acting like a total love-struck fool and immediately declared with passion, "If you won't take care of him, I'll go live every day to earn money. I'm going to make sure he gets better." Hearing this, Mrs. Chen's eyes darted sideways. She immediately nudged Mr. Chin, who was about to speak up, and suddenly changed her tune. Chin is our son, so of course his treatment is our responsibility. His father and I will handle the live stream when the time comes. I knew this family couldn't resist such blatant financial temptation. 12. Folks, my son has extensive burns and still needs skin grafts. If you donate, I'll show you how burn patients use the bathroom. Everyone. This young man got burned on his wedding day before even consummating the marriage. Will everything still work down there? I'll answer that later. Send your donations first. Chen's parents held their phones, completely disregarding Chen's dignity, filming his burn wounds daily without any regard for his feelings. Some viewers with twisted tastes would make bizarre requests in the live stream, and they'd fulfill every single one just for the money. Sometimes they filmed me directly. And I didn't resist. I just played the role of the devoted wife praying for her husband's recovery all day long. They completely disregarded the patient's dignity and feelings. Once Chin regained some mobility, he pointed toward the door and asked them to leave, but the couple, now hooked on the profits from live streaming, paid no attention. Even Dong Dong followed their example, pointing his phone at Chin every day and saying, "My brother looks like a charred caterpillar, all black. Everyone, come and send tips. I'll live stream when they remove his bandages." But I was playing the role of the devoted wife now. Right in the middle of their intense live stream, I dropped to my knees and screamed, "Mom, Dad, you've made money from the live streams. Please, I'm begging you, use it for Chen's skin graft surgery." They were making money off their misery and shock value. My outburst scared them so much they cut the live stream immediately. Chen's mother shot a disgusted glance at Chin lying in the hospital bed. He's burned beyond recognition anyway. What's the point of skin grafts? He's already this hideous. Skin grafts for burn victims aren't just about appearance. Without timely grafting, serious complications can arise: delayed wound healing, infections, sepsis, and even organ failure. But these two were convinced their eldest son would never look the same after the burns. They saw no use in him supporting them in old age and refused to spend another penny on him, eager only to squeeze out whatever value he had left. But that depends on whether I allow it. I straightened up and snapped at them sharply. If you refuse to pay, I'll go to the media and expose you. Don't even think about exploiting Chin for money anymore. Hearing this, Chen's father and mother had no choice but to reluctantly run the numbers with grim expressions. Eventually agreeing through gritted teeth, after everyone else had left, Chin held my hand with tears of gratitude streaming down his face. "Dandan, thank you, you're the only one who truly cares about me." I comforted him, saying, "Don't cry, it's not good for your injuries. Don't worry, no matter what happens, I'll always love you." But inwardly, I couldn't help but think, just a couple of days ago, when he could finally speak again, he was blaming me for switching clothes with him and causing his burns. With a family like that, how could you expect anything good to come from them? 13. The Chin family agreed to provide skin grafts for Chin, but refused to pay extra, insisting on the cheapest surgical option. I have no issue with that, as long as he survives. Nothing else matters to me right now. Post-operative care required meticulous attention, yet the Chens forcibly discharged him from the hospital. Claiming they couldn't afford the medical bills, I had to go with them. They were all too happy to pawn off Chen's care onto me, so no one objected. After bringing him home, they started playing the victim card, saying they had no money left after the surgery and had no choice but to take him back. They kept shamelessly filming Chin, and I quietly tracked down Dong Dong after they left. I saw him counting his live streaming earnings, and I bluntly said, "No matter how much you make, it's pointless. All that money will eventually go toward your brother's medical bills. Now that he's back home with his mother's backing, he's completely unafraid of me." He snapped back, "Bullshit. Mom said everything in this house is meant for me. My brother's just a useless waste of space now." I sneered. "So what? Your brother was still raised by your parents, wasn't he? They even paid 100,000 for his skin graft surgery, didn't they?" With that, I stopped engaging with him and headed to the kitchen to prepare a meal for Chin. Not long after, I heard agonizing screams coming from Chin's room. I dropped what I was holding and rushed in, only to see Dong Dong holding a stick while blood seeped from Chin's body. That was, the newly grafted skin had been broken open. Dong Dong sneered at him without restraint. "How pathetic. Don't think putting on a pitiful act will make Mom and Dad feel sorry for you. Let me make this clear, everything in this house belongs to me. Don't even think about taking a single thing that's mine." Hearing the commotion, the Chin parents rushed over. "Mr. Chin said bluntly, why did you have to provoke your brother? We paid for your surgery. Can't you even take care of yourself properly? If something's wrong now, don't expect us to pay for another one. We don't have the money, Mrs. Chin pulled Dong Dong out of the room, then suddenly shouted at me from the kitchen. "You wasteful woman, how could you leave the gas on when you're not in the kitchen? Are you trying to poison us all?" Just then, I noticed Chin, despite his pain, glancing toward the kitchen after hearing the remark. 14. Being the devoted wife, I immediately rushed to his side to check on him. I carefully examined the wound and confirmed it was indeed a small cut. With a heartbroken look in my eyes, I tearfully said to him, "What are we going to do? It's torn." And your parents won't even get it mended for you. It's all my fault. I'm useless and can't afford your surgery. Sobbing, Chin gasped in pain, but still managed to comfort me. No, it's not your fault. It's all they're doing. The sheer hatred in his eyes sent chills down my spine. I said to him firmly, let's wait a few days and see. If it gets worse, I'll borrow money to get you treated no matter what. At these words, a glimmer of hope seemed to rekindle in his heart. He looked at me with such tenderness in his eyes, as if I were the love of his life. I might have believed it, if I hadn't seen the way he regarded every member of this household with equal hatred. I know he resents me. He believes the burns he suffered were meant for me. I have to admit, his intuition is sometimes spot on. 15. Chen's condition wasn't improving. The poor home environment, coupled with my inadequate care, caused his wounds to worsen. I showed him what I found online. The internet says if you don't get this treated soon, it could get worse and might even kill you. What are we going to do? Mom and Dad just see you as a cash cow. They don't want to pay for your treatment. I broke down in tears as I spoke. Chin, what are we going to do? You might die. I can't bear the thought of losing you. Every day, aside from begging the Chin family for medical help, I kept repeating these words to Chin. As his injuries worsened, the light in his eyes began to fade. He asked me to help him exercise, saying he wanted to be able to use the toilet on his own and maintain his dignity. Of course I respected his wishes. I immediately got him a wheelchair that very day. The Chin family is getting more and more outrageous. They act like every penny in this house belongs to them, all of it meant for dong someday. Now they're even eyeing the money in my pocket and what I have from my own family. When they saw me bring the wheelchair home, they cursed me for squandering money on a useless cripple, calling it a waste. The light in Chin's eyes kept fading, and he began sitting in his wheelchair, frequently glancing toward the kitchen. Sensing something was wrong, I started making excuses every day about going out to borrow money for his surgery, but each evening, I'd come back with a look of despair and tell him I couldn't get the funds. Of course, to make it convincing, I actually went out to borrow money, but the people he could borrow from were all Chin's friends and relatives. Mine are all out of town, so it's not easy to ask them for help. Some of the soft-hearted ones were willing to lend me 1,000 or so, while others refused. I didn't push it either way. With me away from home, that family took things even further, which hit Chin even harder, both emotionally and physically. Watching their live stream, I thought what they were doing would drive any sane person mad in just a few days, especially Chin, who was already emotionally fragile at the time. 16. One day, just as I was about to head out again, Chin grabbed my hand. Please don't go. I'm beyond saving anyway. If I die, so be it. I just want you to spend one last day with me. Holy cow. I nearly jumped out of my skin when I heard that. Don't think I didn't notice how many sleeping pills he stashed while I was resting, or how many times he practiced sneaking into the kitchen. The Chin family wouldn't even glance at him during their live streams, finding him an eyesore. Only I, who didn't mind staying by his side and even set up a small bed in his room to care for him, noticed. He's planning to make his move. From his perspective, I've been more than good to him. I've stood by him through everything, even loaned him money for medical treatment. It was my fight with his family that made his skin graft possible. He actually wanted to take me down with him. I knew it. Bad seeds don't sprout good apples in that family. Of course, I had no intention of burning bridges. Instead, I shouted passionately, no, I won't let you give up. I'll go out and borrow more today. Sooner or later, I'll get the money for your surgery. Don't lose hope. He hung his head and asked me, don't you love me? Aren't you willing to stay with me forever? To be by my side always? I must have been out of my damn mind. How could I ever end up with someone like this? But the show had to go on. I shook him off, grabbed my coat, and headed out. After a few steps, I turned back with tears welling in my eyes. Of course I want to be with you forever. How could you doubt my love? I'll go borrow money right now, even if I have to beg on my knees at every step. I'll get the money for your surgery. We're going to be together from now on. He stared at me intently, saying nothing. I didn't wait for a response either. I just turned and walked out the door. 17. After stepping out, I thought it over and went around borrowing money from my friends. They all knew my situation and, instead of trying to talk me out of it, they generously chipped in. Then I asked my parents to wire me some money, and after mulling it over, I also took out a few online loans. At one point, I checked the Chin family's live stream and saw they were acting even more outrageous than usual, as if they'd taken some kind of pill. It felt like they didn't even treat Chin as a human being. He had less dignity than a circus monkey being gawked at by the crowd. None of them noticed how often Chin kept glancing toward the kitchen. After the live stream ended, I went to a fast food joint, ordered the cheapest meal, ate it, and then zoned out for a long time. I spent the rest of the evening searching on my phone for information about skin grafts and related topics, and it wasn't until late at night that I slowly made my way to Chen's house. Before I even reached their doorstep, I caught a distinct whiff of rotten eggs. I immediately backed away in a panic, rushed downstairs to grab my phone and dialed 119, then called the police. Their family brought this on themselves. But it would be terrible if the neighbors got hurt. The police arrived quickly. After evacuating the residents in the complex, the firefighters went up to ventilate the room by opening the windows. Much later, they came down and told me, "I'm sorry, ma'am, your family members have all passed away." Soon after, police and ambulances arrived at the scene. 18. The case was straightforward. A man, who had been severely burned due to his brother's actions and mistreated by his family, chose to turn on the gas and take his entire family with him in a suicide. His newlywed wife, whom he had also intended to kill, narrowly escaped tragedy because she had gone out to borrow money. Concerned about his condition, a marketing account got wind of the incident and published an article detailing the man's ordeal. He further wrote, "Out of love, he chose to let her go." The incident quickly blew up online. People started calling Chinchin the pure love warrior, and he received a lot of praise, which, honestly, felt pretty ironic. He never gained fame in life, but became an internet sensation in death. I wonder if Chinchin would find any comfort in knowing his wish came true in such a twisted way. As the sole survivor of the Chen family, Chinchen's widow inherited the bulk of the estate. That includes all the money the Chens earned from their recent bizarre live streams. Frankly, I have no qualms about keeping the donations from those who tuned in for the family's freak show. After settling the Chen family's property, I repaid the borrowed money and, under the sympathetic gazes of many, bid farewell to the place and returned to my hometown. For the rest of my life, I want to spend it with my family. Story 2. The end times have come, and I've given up trying. I made a tiny cut on my finger, the kind that would heal if you waited a bit longer. I immediately smeared it with zombie blood I had acquired specifically for this purpose, quietly waiting to become a zombie. Being a painless zombie is quite a thrill. 1. I've become a zombie. But surprisingly, I still have my own consciousness. After realizing this, I completely gave in to the situation. When I have nothing else to do, I go out and join the zombie horde to scare humans. When I see a fellow zombie's arm fall off, I pick it up and hang it around their neck. Our bodies are inherited from our parents. How can we just discard them? During another group gathering of zombies, I suddenly heard the thoughts of these zombies, raspy and coarse. I want to eat human flesh. Human flesh, human flesh. This is a zombie driven mad by hunger. I'm so hungry. That zombie's head looks tasty. This is a zombie delirious with hunger. My dad chewed off my arm again. This is a filial zombie. She's so beautiful. I really like her. Is this a zombie coveting me? This zombie stared at me intently, its pale eyes glowing faintly. I covered my chest in horror. No way. Can this also be love? I stiffly covered my chest, my pale eyes staring at that zombie. The zombie just stared blankly at me. So cute, too. This zombie really has taken a liking to me. Wherever I go, he follows. It's exhausting. He roared at me. Heh. But in his mind, he thought, "You haven't eaten in days. I'll go catch a human for you to eat." I immediately looked terrified, and the thought alone made my scalp tingle. Help, I'm Clara. Even if I starve to death or jump from here, I won't eat human flesh. I quickly hid in my house. Soon there was a loud knocking on the door. Through the peephole, I saw a pair of pale eyes with blood seeping out. I stepped back sharply. Heh, eat. I nearly broke down, not daring to open the door. I shouted outside, "I don't eat humans." After shouting, I immediately regretted it. He's just a zombie without self-awareness. How could he understand human speech? However, through the peephole, the little zombie tilted its head, its eyes rolling around, its face still smeared with plenty of blood, looking extremely puzzled. Human flesh is so tasty, why not eat it? Hehehe, not eating will be uncomfortable. I paused for 2 seconds, then opened the door. The little zombie saw me, its gray-green eyes seemingly glowing faintly, its facial muscles stiffly trying to form a smile. Kind of ugly, but how is this little zombie different from the others? I continued trying to communicate with him. "These are humans," I gestured, pointing at an arm he had brought over, trying to explain clearly, "I don't eat human flesh." The little zombie seemed pensive, slowly blinking its eyes, then stiffly, it left with the same awkward movements. That evening, I saw a freshly killed chicken at the door, and a pair of shiny eyes looking at me as if seeking praise. I hesitantly gave him a thumbs up. Great, ha ha. 3. This city has become a ghost town, devoid of any living humans. I'm really too lonely, and this little zombie has been my solace, so I pried open the door of my neighbor's house and took the little zombie inside. My neighbors had disappeared at the start of the apocalypse, and I had no idea where they had gone. The little zombie obediently followed me. As soon as I entered, I immediately noticed some discs on the table, curiously picked one up. The cover was immediately shocking to the eye. I was momentarily stunned and felt a flush of embarrassment. Then I quietly hid it away. Having resources and not using them is foolish. Who would have thought that the little zombie's eyes were so sharp? He spotted the cover immediately. 2 people, without clothes, having been with me for a while. The little zombie now understood what humans were. I turned around and scolded him. What do you mean by without clothes? They are participating in the grand harmony of life, not something for little kids like you. I need to take this and examine it closely. The little zombie seemed to half understand, his thoughts clearly led astray, tilting his head slightly. He seemed to make no sound. After tidying up the room, I said to the dazed little zombie following me, "All right, you can live here from now on. It's quite close to me." After speaking, I wasn't sure if he had understood. His gray-green eyes still stared straight at me. I turned and left, holding the disc in my hand, ready to head home. Heavy footsteps sounded behind me. Don't you have your own home?" The little zombie stared at me persistently and followed. If he were a neat and cute boy, I might have taken him in, but he was covered in blood, and even his clothes were incomplete. My demeanor changed, and I cajoled him with a smile. All right, I won't go. Let's go inside." The little zombie hadn't experienced much of the world. After I tricked him inside, I immediately turned and ran home. Twisting my hand, I locked the door. Through the peephole, I saw the little zombie slowly approaching, his movements stiff and comical. He stared blankly at the door of my house, looking like a pitifully abandoned little thing. His thoughts did not reach me. It should not be a problem. He might leave on his own soon. I felt somewhat gloomy inside. I silently walked back to my bedroom, not even interested in the disc anymore. That night, I lay rigidly on the bed, although I no longer needed sleep. 20 years of habit dictated that I lie down when it was time. That silly boy hadn't left, had he? I got out of bed and peered through the peephole at the scene outside. The little zombie hung his head, staring blankly at the ground, looking like a pitifully abandoned little thing. I sighed and eventually opened the door. The little zombie suddenly looked up, his eyes sparkling as he looked at me. With a soft sigh, I looked at him, my heart softened, and I set 3 rules. I can take you in, but you must agree to 3 conditions. I'll listen to you. First, you must always stay clean. You can't come in looking dirty like you are now. Okay. Second, I don't eat human flesh, and I don't want to see anything related to human flesh. You can't bring it here. Okay. Third, you can't touch me without my permission. The little zombie visibly looked much more dejected. He was very dirty, and I told him, "No, I'll take you to have a bath." For, after the little zombie had bathed, he turned out to be quite handsome. His skin was an unhealthy pale, his hair was loose, his bone structure prominent, only his movements were stiff. His eyes were the innocent type, gray-green, but there were 2 red smudges on his face. It felt like he was blushing. I thought about it. Probably it was because of his stiff and slow movements during the bath. I couldn't stand it anymore and ended up helping him take off his clothes myself. He was originally a zombie, naive and pure, devoid of emotions like shyness. However, when my gaze swept over his body, he subconsciously bit his lips gently. His gray-green eyes slowly moved away, unable to meet my gaze. Honestly, his physique wasn't bad at all. He had abs where there should be abs, and the defined lines of an athlete. It seemed he felt my gaze, as he murmured unclearly, glaring at him. He looked down, feeling wronged and dared not speak. I pumped some shower gel into my hands and started to rub it over his body. If he were a human, I probably couldn't stand it and would have run away, but he was just a zombie, and to me, he was no different from a pet. As I was washing him, a raspy, unclear voice suddenly whispered, "Don't look." I was shocked and my eyes practically shot lasers. "You can talk." But he just stuttered again, unable to speak clearly, emitting a heh-heh sound. I thought to myself, I didn't know. It seemed he really was shy, so I let him off the hook this time, taught him a little, and he nodded stiffly. I took another look. He did seem clean now. Luckily, there was a couch in the bedroom. Pointing to it, I said, "All right, you can sleep here tonight." The little zombie cocked his head, puzzled. He seemed not to understand. Then I remembered, neither of us were human anymore. We didn't need sleep, just lie here and close your eyes. The little zombie, half understanding, lay rigidly on the couch and then closed his eyes, and then there was no more movement. His chest did not rise and fall with breath. The couch was like a coffin. I looked again and couldn't bear to keep looking, feeling as though the warmest room in my house had turned into a morgue. However, the little zombie suddenly opened his eyes. In the dim room, his eyes seemed to sparkle. Heh, is that so? Looking at his innocent face, I couldn't help but smile slightly. "Next time, remember to call me sister." "Okay, who cares who's older?" Now on my turf, he had to call me sister. I never had a man call me that in life. Becoming a zombie, I must reclaim some dignity. The little zombie, puzzled, tilted his head and said in a rough voice, "As sister." I immediately responded with satisfaction. I continued to reassure him. "The outside world is full of bad guys. Only here with sister is it safe. Sister is the best for you, you know." The little zombie was too naive, trying hard to understand the meaning of my words. He nodded slightly. Just as I was getting into the swing of comforting the little zombie, suddenly an alarm sounded outside. It echoed through the entire silent city. My DNA stirred. I turned suddenly, my gaze searching outside, trying to find a trace of humanity. Even though I was a zombie, my memories still belonged to a human. I longed for the existence of humanity. The broadcast played a long-missed human voice. "We are the H Army Unit Number 110. We have received a signal from a city indicating the presence of humans. Humanity has faced many challenges on Earth, and this is just another one. As soldiers of H, we swear to protect the safety of every H citizen and will not abandon any one of them. Please trust the nation. Trust us. We are coming to take you home. All surviving citizens, please gather at the crossroads on X Street within an hour to board our armored vehicles. We will not give up any hope for life, and neither should you." My sleeve was suddenly tugged. The little zombie didn't understand the broadcast. His eyes just fixed on me. "Sister, don't cry." I didn't realize until then that my face was covered with tears. I wiped my tears and looked out the window. I could vaguely see several military vehicles rushing toward the dead city of A. Little zombie, "It's time to go. Will you come with me?" I picked up an iron rod, and the little zombie followed closely behind me like a little tail. He had no idea what I wanted to do, and he just blindly followed me. Outside, the area was densely packed with zombies, their thoughts incessantly invading my mind. "I'm so hungry, so hungry. It's time to eat." Diana said, "There's food coming from over there. I need to hurry." Their gazes were fierce like wolves, all heading toward the suburbs. It seemed that zombies could freely communicate among themselves. I couldn't help but worryingly look towards the suburbs, then turned back to look at the young zombie. Suddenly, our eyes met as he stared intensely at me. The moment our eyes locked, his eyes widened and he quickly turned his head away. It seemed he was afraid that I'd notice his gaze. However, I soon realized that the other zombies would actively avoid the young zombie. Even if I stood in front of them, they would not pass by from his direction. One of the zombies bumped into me. It didn't hurt, but it made me stagger. My body suddenly lunged forward, and instinctively, I grabbed the young zombie's arm. Crack! I fell into the arms of the young zombie. Holding onto his arm, unlike the other zombies outside, he was not filthy. He still had the scent of my household shower gel on him. I quickly pulled away from his embrace, glancing at his arm. "Are you okay?" I reached out and shook his arm. It wobbled bonelessly. "I'm fine, fine." The young zombie's pale face unnaturally blushed, his eyes rigidly looking away. "Me, damn, don't scare me." I immediately tapped his head. "Don't just scare me like that. I'm a huge fan of Mr. Lam Chinging." He looked aggrieved, covering the spot where I had tapped. "But isn't Mr. Lam Chinging the one who deals with zombies?" "Wait a minute." I quickly looked at him, tentatively asking, "Did you remember something from your past?" "He even knows about Mr. Lam Chinging dealing with zombies." The young zombie shook his head confusedly. "Are you talking about that disc, sister?" I quickly tapped on his head again. "Forget it, forget it, forget it. Children shouldn't meddle in adults' matters." The young zombie looked downcast, adjusting his bones himself. Then he turned to me, pulling a slightly awkward smile. More and more zombies crowded towards the suburbs, densely packed and bustling. The smell of blood and decay mixed together, assaulting my nostrils. I was relieved that the young zombie was fine, and continued to lead him towards Zybe Street. But I noticed that it wasn't just one or two zombies avoiding the young zombie. Watching carefully for a while, I realized that all zombies passing by would subconsciously avoid him. "Can you try calling them back?" After hesitating for a long while, I decided to give it a try and instructed him. The young zombie blinked. After understanding my intent, he called out to the group of zombies. I didn't understand what it meant. The group of zombies suddenly turned back, uniformly looking towards the young zombie. Their pale eyes held a hint of wariness. "It worked. Can you tell them not to go to the suburbs?" His voice was smoother than at the beginning. "I'll try." The zombies, hearing his voice, stopped neatly, their bodies shaking but determined. Strangely enough, none dared to move, looking at the young zombie with considerable fear. Not until the broadcast announced the troops were preparing to withdraw did I finally breathe a sigh of relief. I patted the young zombie on the shoulder. "Thank you." The surrounding zombies seemed to sense that I was interfering with their buffet, and they all looked towards me. Their pale eyes emitted a faint green glow. The stiff zombies began to contort their bodies, their legs bent at unbelievable angles, like an unknown tide from the deep sea. They surged towards me. I silently hid behind the young zombie, giving them a thumbs up. "It's a pity you guys aren't dancing. Such flexibility and bending are truly rare in this world." The other zombies kept coming towards me. Only one zombie with fluffy pink hair tilted her head to look at me. She was also dressed in a swan-like ballet costume. Then, amidst the zombie tide, she tiptoed and lifted her skirt, starting to dance ballet. Damn, even more astonishingly, those zombies displayed great hostility towards me, baring their fangs and claws. I went on to comment, "Your teeth are so white, you'd be perfect for advertising toothpaste for black people." The white-toothed zombie thought, "Mom, I found a job." "Hey, your fingers flail so sensuously. Perfect for finger rehabilitation exercises," the dancing zombie thought. I don't want to let her go either, but she said I'm sexy. "Wow, your pecs are so big, suitable for, breaking rocks with your chest." The muscular zombie's dejected thought came through. Actually, I'd rather be a stay-at-home dad." these zombies. I think there's something very wrong with them. Could it be they've evolved secretly without me knowing? They can now communicate with me telepathically without any barriers. With a lingering reluctance, I realized I am no longer human. I've become a zombie, even though I yearn for the life among humans. Our paths are never meant to cross again. Watching the last military vehicle speed past me, the humans inside stared at me in terror. A stone thrown at me hit my body. Their eyes showed not the kindness reserved for fellow humans, but disgust meant for a zombie. It hurt, feeling wronged. I muttered under my breath, "Damn it, I was even distracting the zombies for you. And you little brat, still hit me, before." Such a thing would have made me break down in tears, but now, as a zombie, my facial muscles have stiffened considerably. No matter how much I want to cry, the tears just won't come. Seeing me hit, a young zombie bared its ghastly white teeth and hissed at them. The child on the military truck was startled. Without thinking, I began to run wildly towards them. My expression was far from pleasant, twisted and eerie. This might be the last batch of humans. I can no longer leave the city. Forever severed from human society, although it was my choice, seeing my own kind right before my eyes, growing ever more distant, was painful. Missing this chance, I might really have to live among zombies forever, but they don't speak now. No amount of inner voices can replace human speech. Humans are social animals. Zombies with human consciousness are social too. I felt deeply sad. Yet the people in the truck were terrified, as if they were in a scene from Train to Busan. They saw a zombie chasing their vehicle, more agile than the others, which scared them even more. Those with children quickly covered their eyes. Damn, how can this zombie run so fast? Mommy, that zombie is so scary. Why is she running so fast? Because she saw food. That's what everyone thought. Then, a little girl pointed through the crowd at the running zombie. Mommy, that zombie looks so sad. She's crying. Silly child, you're mistaken. Zombies aren't human. How can they cry? But this is the cleanest zombie I've ever seen. As the dust rose, I stood still, watching the military truck drive away from City A. I could only watch helplessly as it sped away. Unbeknownst to me, the young zombie had followed me, and now tugged gently at my clothes with a hoarse, strained voice. "Sister, I will always stay with you." I brushed his hand away. "If you're going to stay, stay. But why are you pinching my face? Your face is so soft and smells nice." Pretending not to see him, I actually wiped the tears from my face. But in terror, I thought, damn, this little zombie better not be so hungry that he ends up biting me. As the troops left, I felt more defeated than ever, lying down every day, not eating anything. But I've noticed the young zombie becoming more formidable recently. He speaks much more fluently than before. His complexion has changed from the usual gray-white to something closer to human skin, and other zombies seem increasingly wary of him. Whenever he's around, the other zombies don't dare to act recklessly. They hang their heads, like puppets. It feels odd to me. Those zombies are afraid of him, and he follows me around like an inescapable shadow. I try to send him away, but he doesn't leave. Instead, he looks at me with puppy eyes and asks, "Sister, don't you love me anymore?" It's laughable. What do zombies know of love? I responded by playing him the song "Would You Love Me If I Were a DJ?" After much thought, I decided to let the young zombie stay by my side, mainly because, since the apocalypse began, the city has been without electricity, and the nights are like hell. I'm scared. Maybe it's better with the young zombie around. "Young zombie, what's your name?" on a whim, I asked a question. The young zombie shook his head, his gaze dull. "Oh, most zombies lose the memories they had when they were alive. Naturally, they wouldn't remember their names either." I sighed and was scavenging through a neighbor's house when I suddenly caught sight of a newspaper left on the table. My eyes fixed intently on the newspaper. The young zombie looked at me, puzzled. I walked straight to the newspaper, picked it up, and compared the picture on it with the young zombie for a long time. Suddenly, I sighed. I think I knew the young zombie's name now. Carson, a well-known entrepreneur in City A. He went from nothing to a billionaire in just 2 years. He had only been established in City A for less than a year before the apocalypse struck. He had a much tougher break than me. There are mainly two things people fear in life: dying with money unspent, and living with no money left. One describes Carson. The other describes me. I pointed to the 3 characters on the newspaper and tapped the young zombie. "This is your name, Carson." "Got it." Carson glanced at it briefly, nodded, and then his gray-green eyes sparkled as he looked at me. "What's your name, sister?" I sighed. "Delilah." Carson repeated my name several times. His lips, looking more vibrant, curved into a smile at me. His tone was extremely serious, as if reciting some sort of vow. "I will remember sister's name." But he seemed truly indifferent about his own name. I couldn't be bothered to think more about it. After all, what good could come from a zombie remembering my name? Later I found out, indeed, no good came of it. Even in death, I could still suffer social death in front of others. Recently, the zombies have become more formidable. They have evolved. Crystals have formed in their brains, and there's a clear hierarchy among the zombies. I don't know why other zombies seem afraid of Carson. But with my current abilities, I can only identify the ranks of the basic zombies. I never thought that even as a zombie, I'd still have to work, since last time, after discovering the potential in many confused zombies, they started coming to me with their newfound ability to think, and I could even hear their thoughts. They spoke awkwardly, but I could understand. Look, old zombie, tell me, what am I suited for? He mumbled on, giving me a headache, I said. You'd be good as a stand-up comic or a talk show host. He danced with joy, his mind a whirl of thoughts, then he tossed me a crystal and left. Yes, this is my job, my rank is low, my ability's weak, and since I don't want to eat humans, this is the only strategy one have, earning some crystals to level up. However, Carson's eyes held a mournful look. He watched me for hours without getting tired. Sister, why do you keep touching their hands? Why do you keep talking to them? I rolled my eyes at him. Nonsense, how else would I level up? If not this, are you going to support me? His eyes shone a grey-green light, fixating on me. His pathologically pale and handsome face was serious. Then, right in front of me, he placed a bag of crystals before me. Sister, I can support you. Damn, I worked my butt off all day for just about 10 crystals, and he just handed over hundreds. It was enough being competitive as a human. Now even as a zombie, feeling utterly despondent, I took the crystals. Then inspiration struck. I immediately grabbed Carson's hand, his face flushed a faint red, as if a white wall had been lightly dabbed with blush. Carson, we zombies must adhere to our own ethics. It's wrong for you to be so competitive this time, but I am willing to bear this pain for you. Other zombies wouldn't be as accepting of your flaws and shortcomings as I am. Carson now looked dazed, with a slight tilt of his head. It seemed as if he had pondered for a long time before finally understanding my good intentions. When it comes to KTV with a little zombie, I'm definitely the expert. I glanced at the crystal core again. Is this thing given only to me, or do other zombies have it too? It's only for you, he said in a deep, hoarse voice. I only give one zombie to my sister, ever since I discovered how capable Carson was. I decided to just lie back and relax. As usual, not only does Carson level up quickly, but he also brings back many crystal cores. Each time he returned, he carried a faint, unfamiliar scent of shower gel. I stared at him and grabbed his collar, blurting out in a greasy tone, "Little zombie, are you playing hard to get with me?" Carson's eyes, innocent as a deer's, explained helplessly, "No, that's not it. I got dirty coming back, and sister doesn't like that. I went somewhere else to bathe before coming to see you. Damn. Such a cute little zombie deserves all the kisses and hugs from sister." I immediately pulled him into my embrace. His unfamiliar shower gel scent filled my nostrils. I rubbed his head and fiercely kissed his face several times, just like one would with a dear child. Mwah. Such a cute little zombie deserves all the kisses and hugs from sister. Carson's face turned an odd shade of red. He was completely unaware that his simple little mind had been thoroughly won over. He pursed his lips slightly and lowered his gaze, shy and bashful, his grey-green eyes sparkling. Kisses and hugs only for sister. With me, Carson's state was always, sister's kisses, sister's hugs, missing sister, loving sister. One day, on a whim, I stood by the window looking at the scenery. I saw Carson downstairs, expressionless, punching a zombie's head to pieces and extracting the crystal core from its skull. I was silent. This guy really knows how to act, but I totally fall for it. That evening, hearing a knock, I opened the door. Again, that unfamiliar scent of shower gel wafted in. Carson looked at me with bright, shiny eyes. His clothes were dust-free, clearly changed into a new set. "I miss sister a lot today." His lips turned a deeper shade of red. His eyes and expressions were innocent and pure. He opened his hands and carefully asked, "Does sister miss me?" He definitely did that on purpose, but I really fall for it. I immediately pulled him into my embrace, mumbling, "Where did you bathe this time? And where did you change your clothes?" Carson tilted his head to think for a moment, then explained one by one, "In a room at the end of the corridor on the second floor, and I found the clothes in a big room filled with clothes." He pulled out an LV bag from behind and handed it to me. "Sister, this is for you." I waved my hand, keeping up with Chinese tradition. "Look at you, just come by, no need to bring gifts." I took the bag and opened it to find it full of crystal cores. The dazzling array of colors blinded my titanium alloy dog eyes. How many zombies did he have to kill for this? Who would have thought? Carson seriously said, "Sister, your level is too low. You'll be bullied by other zombies outside. So you need to absorb more energy from the crystal cores." Oh my. Such an angel. I completely forgot his appearance outside. To me, he's an angel. To other zombies, isn't he like the king of hell? After absorbing the energy from the crystal cores, I leveled up 3 times. Now I've reached level 5. I suddenly realized something I had always overlooked. Carson's behavior was becoming more and more like a human's, and now he doesn't need my guidance. Many things seem to be completed with muscle memory, like the usage of items in a shopping mall. And even his movements and tone were becoming more human-like, even more so than actual humans. Could this be the benefit of leveling up? I've been lying low very thoroughly. Sometimes I still worry whether there are any remaining humans in City A, because initially, the military couldn't check every household, and some people might have been too scared to rush out, so from time to time, I go to other places to see if there are any surviving humans. Unexpectedly, I actually came across a pair of siblings out scavenging for food. They were alert and timid, exploring the area bit by bit. They just wanted to bring some food back. I lied that I was a human, driving them to a human base in my car. They were well protected there. After dropping them off, I quickly left. Seeing them constantly searching for my figure, my heart softened. I randomly summoned a nearby zombie over to scare them a bit. This fright made the two kids turn pale and they quickly ran into the base. When I returned to City A, from afar, I could feel an overwhelming oppressive force spreading from all directions. It weighed heavily on my heart, stifling me. The movements of the zombies slowed down considerably. Most of them were of a lower rank than me. I casually grabbed a trembling zombie to interrogate. "What's going on here?" The zombie's inner voice whimpered. "Woo-woo, King is too terrifying." His pet zombie ran away. And now he's having all the zombies in the city help look for it. If we can't find it, he's going to massacre us in City A, eat us all. Woo-woo. My brother was killed by the king. Hearing this, I immediately felt sympathy for him. I patted his shoulder. "Don't worry, brother. Grow quickly and aim to reunite with your brother soon." The zombie staggered off, his legs twitching, his heart crying out sadly. Woo-woo. Carson is looking for a zombie he has been raising. How did I not know about this zombie? Carson usually only took care of me. Wait a minute, is he talking about me? I have hands and feet. What does he mean by raising? That sounds so unpleasant. Clearly, it was by my own skills that I got to cling to powerful support. By my own skills, I lay low. All the zombies in the city were busily searching for treasures. Many zombies had seen me, and I had to sneak back quietly. The journey back was very smooth. Feeling guilty, I cautiously opened the door. I entered quietly and closed the door softly. The noise during the entire process was negligible. Just as I was about to turn around, a sickly white hand silently wrapped around my waist from behind. I was about to perform a shoulder throw on the person behind me when I heard a familiar voice, indignant and upset. "Sister, why did you leave me behind?" I held his face gently, teasing. "Carson is so cute. How could I possibly leave you?" Carson was upset, but fortunately, he was easy to appease. His tense, handsome face was kneaded into various shapes. His gaze was dark and chilling. I flinched, hurriedly averting my gaze. I never noticed before how handsome Carson was. Maybe it was because his rank wasn't high enough before, and he spoke slowly and dully, adorably silly. Now his voice was close to the most pleasant male voice among humans, deep and clear. His features were sharp, and those innocent puppy eyes were criminally charming. I swallowed silently. Damn, Clara. This is the little zombie you raised from nothing, and now you're coveting his beauty. I soon snapped out of it and stared openly at him. Having been single for over 20 years since birth, continuing to be single as a zombie seemed too cruel. Not only did I covet, but I also planned to make my move directly. Carson didn't notice my abnormality, his voice deep and husky. "Sister, don't leave me alone again." Me. Is it possible that neither of us is human now? But seeing Carson's pitiful look, I still pulled him into my arms. I roughly tousled his hair, giving him a mua kiss on his face. I teased in a playful tone, "Oh, my clingy little kitty." His face flushed, and he obediently nestled into my neck, shy and reserved. Having become zombies, bringing home a handsome one isn't too much, right? After enough clinging, his face was no longer red, his heart no longer beating. Oh wait, his heart wasn't beating to begin with. He picked up a bag of crystal nuclei from the side and handed it to me. His gaze was earnest. "Sister, these are for you. You need to level up soon." I accepted them, feeling fully justified. It then reminded me of the zombie I had seen in the suburbs earlier. I asked, "How many zombies did you tell to look for me?" Carson pursed his lips, seemingly pondering. After a moment, he answered, "Everyone." How many? Everyone. Carson might have felt a bit guilty at this point. "I searched the entire city and couldn't find you, sister, so we mobilized all zombies for a carpet search. At this point in time, it's likely they've already made it to the neighboring city." Me. I viciously ruffled his hair. "Seeing how handsome you are, I'll reluctantly forgive you." At this moment, the spread emanated outward from City A to other areas. A group of zombies from City A, their limbs twisted and movements stiff. Whenever they encountered a zombie, they'd pull out an A4 sheet prepared by Carson. It had a colorful print of Clara's image, along with her name. "If you see her, bring her to City A." Other humans risking their lives for food. What kind of person warrants such a meticulous search by zombies? They silently noted down her name and immediately reported it to their leaders. It seems necessary to make a trip to City A to investigate the situation. 13. Since that one departure, Carson has become even more clingy. He used to go out for 6 hours a day to kill zombies. Now it's just 2. Every half hour, he'd call out to me from downstairs. Only after I poked my head out the window to respond would he be reassured enough to go earn crystal cores. I gazed out the window at the nearby square, lost in thought. Since I've decided to lay low, I might as well engage in some recreational activities. Taking advantage of being able to hear the zombies' thoughts, I simply went outside. I even called a few zombies to join me. If I'm not old enough to retire, then I might as well start doing things retirees do. After raiding the mall and emptying it, we moved to the square. These items, never having been used, still had battery power. After the apocalypse, there's no electricity, no hot water, resources are even scarcer, so, most of the time, I'm very frugal. I grabbed a large speaker and connected an MP3 player. Soon, the most dazzling ethnic style blasted through the sky. There were also universe lights exclusive to KTVs. The twilight dyed the sky, the evening deepening. The purple, red, blue, and green lights turned the entire square into a massive rave scene. More and more zombies were attracted by the noise here. Seizing the moment, I immediately turned on the speakers. The vast horizon is my love. Flowers bloom beneath the continuous green mountains. What kind of song is the most swinging? The dance in the square with the flashing lights was simply bewitching. The purple and red lights flickered, casting on the pale faces of the zombies. A strong Chinese horror vibe ensued. I held back my desire to snap at them for a long time before I started instructing them to jump around. Yes, 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 jump along with me. All the zombies on the square were raving, and I was leading them. The noise was thunderous. Fortunately, zombies don't need sleep, so there were no complaints, and these zombies strangely did as I said, jumping along with me. Their bodies were stiff, almost like Sadako climbing out of a TV. Hours passed. I noticed several zombies had their eyeballs pop out. Next time, I should consider dancing. Behind the flower bed next to the square, I saw a familiar figure. Next to it was a zombie in a cute pink dress. Their movements intimate. This female zombie was different from the others, roughly at the same level as me. She was clean and even changed into clean clothes. These zombies almost never changed their clothes, their bodies covered with mixed red and green blood, unpleasant and ugly. Just as that female zombie was about to kiss him, I widened my eyes and rushed over quickly. Before I could get there, Carson had already moved behind her, with a disdainful frown. He brushed off the non-existent dust on his body. His voice cold as ice. No one but her can touch me. I had never seen such a cold demeanor before. No, that's not right. I had seen it, just like in that newspaper I saw once. His expression was just as icy and indifferent, as if nothing in this world could catch his eye. But now, I still say the same thing. We are zombies. 14. Seeing me approach, Carson's icy eyes instantly warmed up. The sharp gaze quickly turned into a clear display of foolishness. The puppy-eyed creature looked at me with a pitiful expression, then, carefully reaching out, it clutched the corner of my clothes, the crimson lips slightly parting. Clara, she bullied me, just like the adorable expressions it usually showed me. I couldn't help but pinch its face. Suddenly, I realized it called me Clara instead of sister. This zombie was naive, not yet exposed to the harshness of the human world. But seeing how close I was with it made it jealous. Its speech was hesitant. Clearly just beginning to grasp language. I like you. I didn't bully you. Later, we should have lots of children. There are villains in the crowd. 3 black lines slid down my forehead, but I wasn't jealous. Instead, pointing at her, I immediately turned to Carson and asked, "Can I take this crystal core?" Thinking about children now, humans are responsible for combating zombies. While I'm tasked with cutting down these corrupt thoughts, Carson nodded at me, without a word. Under the terrified gaze of that zombie, he crushed her head. He removed the crystal core, just as I expected. It indeed was a level 5 zombie. Carson glanced disgustedly at the filth on his hand. As I was about to pull out a tissue to wipe it, he suddenly stepped back, avoiding my hand. He spat out a word, dirty, his eyebrows slightly furrowed. His handsome face, like an ancient sculpture, looked particularly captivating under the dim purplish-red light. His hand, stained with green, viscous blood, dripped slowly. Suddenly, I grabbed his collar. Looking at his dazed expression, I quickly leaned in and kissed his lips, then immediately pulled back. Smiling, I said, "Go wash your hands, Carson. I really enjoy seeing this cute, naive zombie. I have no family left, nor does anyone need me, but with him, I can feel needed." Carson stared at me, lips slightly pursed. My suspicions grew stronger. He might have regained some of his memories. When his level is high enough, he will become more like a human. He will also regain some memories, but he isn't human anymore, no longer retaining human consciousness, yet he can still summon other zombies. Could it be, he is the zombie king? My heart grew more uneasy. At night, in the bedroom, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about how to handle this matter, a body crawled into my bed, arms tightly wrapping around my waist, chin resting on top of my head. "Sister, I will always stand by your side." I will listen to whatever you say. His voice in the quiet room seemed especially soothing to a zombie's heart. I poked his face with my hand and bluntly asked, "Have you regained your memory?" He was silent for a moment, eventually nodding gently atop my head. His arms tightened. "Sister, don't abandon me." I'm very obedient. I could feel his unease, though I didn't know where it stemmed from. Still, I held him tightly, gently patting his back to comfort him. "In that case, why don't you join me for square dancing tomorrow?" Carson paused, then agreed. "Okay, I'll listen to sister." Having zombies join in the square dancing had become a routine. Every day from 6 in the evening, zombies gradually gathered at the square not far from my home. They didn't disperse until midnight. More zombies from other cities joined over time, with Carson's help. The zombies danced obediently, but since I charged a crystal core per zombie per day, I soon noticed fewer zombies in City A, and the nearest military base would occasionally send troops to scavenge for food. My leading the zombies in square dancing was widely known for intensifying internal conflicts. The siblings I had previously saved recognized my photo on a poster, pointing at it and recalling that it was me who had brought them back. Upon learning this, the leadership at the base urgently convened a meeting. They suspected that I might still retain human consciousness. Moreover, there had been a noticeable decrease in zombies in Cydia recently. In an unexpected incident, I saved a base commander. All of my actions came to their attention and were publicly announced, making all the surviving humans aware of my deeds. The most beautiful zombie. She truly deserves to be our hero. She was once a mere office worker, but as a zombie, she endured what others could not, maintaining her own consciousness and continuing to fight for the future of humanity. The discussions about me were endless. They sent me a letter saying, "History has seen many heroes and will see many more, but at this moment, we want to award you a medal. You are our hero." The award ceremony was simple, as things were kept basic during these times. It took place at the main entrance of the base, leaving just enough space for one person to pass through. Behind the protective barriers, a crowd of admirers had gathered, watching me intently. The base leader, clad in armor, made his way through the crowd to a makeshift podium and placed a medal on me. With solemnity, he declared, "Now, you are our hero." Everyone shouted in unison, "Hero, thank you for your hard work." I smiled and replied, "Thank you. It's no trouble at all. I serve the people." After a while, I touched the medal on my chest, smiled at them, and waved as I prepared to leave. Suddenly, two youthful voices called out from beyond the crowd, "Sister, thank you, sister." I turned around and saw the siblings I had saved, jumping up trying to catch my eye. After leaving the base, I saw Carson standing at the corner. He didn't want to leave me nor cause panic among the base's people, so he obediently waited there for my return. His gaze was calm as he looked in my direction. When he caught sight of me, his eyes flickered, a faint smile spread across his face. "Sister, welcome back." My heart warmed, and I smiled back. "Carson, I'm back. I don't know what the future holds, but I am content with life as it is now. The interests of humanity are paramount." Even the cloudy skies seemed to show signs of clearing. One day, I was idly counting the crystal nuclei I had collected recently. Suddenly, Carson's deep, husky voice broke the silence. "Did you finish watching that disc from before?" I was taken aback, remembering the disc hidden in the cabinet. "Wait, what?" "Carson, I watched it. Let me process this." Using a phrase I had taught him, he said, "You said, life is about movement." I quickly retorted, "I meant healthy exercise." "You also said, learning from books is shallow. True knowledge requires personal experience." In a deserted city, all was silent. Outside, the plaza where the leading zombies once danced was empty, and the flickering lights continued to blink. The zombies danced and partied on their own. City A was quiet, with only this house lit by a faint light. During freshman military training, a zombie outbreak suddenly erupted. The entire school, teachers and students alike, panicked and scattered in all directions. Only I, who had just been diagnosed with late-stage cancer, lit up at the sight and rushed towards the zombies, hoping to be bitten. To my surprise, these zombies avoided me disdainfully, utterly refusing to bite me. I refused to give up and, after much difficulty, found the Zombie King. Upon seeing me, it kneeled down, and I could even hear its voice in my mind. "I'm really done with you. Please just go away." Freshman year students were in military training, filled with the vibrancy of youth. Holding the lab results in my hand, I felt as though I was sinking into an endless pit of despair. At the age of 10, I lost both of my parents, and it was only after great effort that I managed to get into the university of my dreams, thinking that my hardships were finally over. But then, I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, a deadly disease that could cause excruciating pain until death. My mind went blank. Only one thought remained. How would I endure the days of intense pain that awaited me? "Help! Zombies! Help!" Suddenly, a terrified scream came from outside. Everyone in the classroom was startled and instinctively looked out the window. What we saw was a scene straight out of hell. Several terrifying zombies Their faces marred with necrotic patches and black veins, were biting down on the freshmen's necks, their sharp fangs dripping with fresh blood. The air was filled with screams and the splatter of blood. Zombies, real zombies. Oh my god, run, came a panicked shout from someone nearby. In the next moment, most of the students ran out of the classroom. The teacher frowned and told us to stay inside while he went out to check. Soon, students from other classes also ran out screaming. The hallway outside became incredibly crowded and chaotic. Amidst this, a scoff came from beside me. How can zombies really exist in this world? It must be those freshmen playing a prank, said Conrad, a classmate known for his carefree attitude, who even started taking photos with his phone. His words calmed many who were about to flee. Suddenly, a figure fell from the floor above and crashed to the ground. Everyone's face turned pale, just as some braver souls were about to look out. A ghastly, necrotic face burst up at the window. He clawed at the glass, howling at us as if trying to break in. Sitting by the window, I saw clearly his bloodshot, bulging eyes and the large, raw wound on his neck where flesh had been ripped away. It was just like the zombies we'd seen on TV. The others also saw the true appearance of the zombies and noticed more and more students outside being attacked and bitten. They finally realized this was no prank. More people tried to flee. But the corridor grew increasingly congested, making escape nearly impossible. At that moment, our usually calm class president, Yu Wang, immediately told everyone, "Stay calm, don't panic, close and lock all the doors and windows. We all know from zombie shows that you must not get scratched or bitten, or you'll turn into one too. What we need to do now is make sure no zombies touch us." Someone then shouted at me, "Elise, quickly lock your window." I instinctively locked it. Then turned to the class president, my eyes sparkling with an odd excitement. Getting scratched or bitten by a zombie turns you into one. Everyone frowned at me, but I only looked at the class president. Waiting for his nod, overjoyed, I jumped up and squeezed out of the classroom just as the door was being shut. Carried by the flow of escaping students, I finally made it out of the teaching building. Looking towards the not-too-distant sports field, I saw a chaotic mix of zombies and people. Excited, I ran towards the zombies, against the screams of my fleeing classmates. I hope a zombie bites me, because as far as I can think now, that's the least painful way for me to die. I spotted a particularly ferocious-looking zombie, sure to bite quickly and accurately. It was about to bite a tall, clean-looking guy who someone had pushed towards it. Without hesitation, I rushed forward and pulled the guy away. I then spread my arms towards the zombie and calmly closed my eyes, waiting for the bite. 1 second, 2 seconds, 8 seconds, 9 seconds passed. The terrible screams of pain around me continued unabated, but the expected pain never came. Confused, I suddenly felt someone cautiously embracing me. A pleasant scent, like cold pine and snow, filled the air. Do zombies smell this good? Don't TV shows say zombies emit a stench like dead rats? Without overthinking, I straightened up my neck, making it easier for the zombie to bite me, but the anticipated pain still didn't come. Instead, a cool yet hesitant and attractive male voice spoke above me. "Elise, do you intend to repay my act of saving you with your person, but can we perhaps move somewhere else first? There are zombies here." That voice sounded oddly familiar. I hurriedly opened my eyes and looked up. The first thing I saw was a beautifully contoured jawline. Then, I saw a face with sharp features, stunningly handsome. It was Cedric, the school's notorious tough guy. What was he doing holding me? Where was my zombie? The fierce, ugly zombie I just faced. Where did it go? I quickly pushed Cedric away, looking for other zombies to bite me, but strangely, although there were many zombies biting people around me just now, they were now all a dozen meters away, chasing after others. I chose the fastest and most agile-looking zombie, which was about to pounce on a fallen classmate. I rushed towards it, yelling, "I'm here, come bite me." My loud voice attracted the zombie. It paused, turned its head, and our eyes met, but in a second, it turned and ran off to chase someone further away. I had no choice but to look for other zombies, but these zombies, seeing me charging at them, inexplicably turned and ran after others, completely ignoring me. Exhausted, I was panting heavily. As a last resort, I chased after the slowest one, a zombie dragging one leg very stiffly, but as soon as I began to chase it, the slow-moving zombie suddenly sped up, using its arms and legs to run away. Even losing a leg didn't make it stop to pick it up, as if a ghost was chasing it. I chased the zombie to the science building. The zombie didn't stop. And just as I was about to yell at it to wait for me, a breathless voice came from behind. "Elise, wait for me." Confused, I turned around only to find that Cedric had been chasing me. "Why should I wait for you?" He didn't answer, but quickly ran up to me, glanced nervously around, then pushed open the door to a lab and pulled me inside. He quickly locked the door. As I was about to speak, he covered my mouth. "Shoo," he whispered very softly in my ear. Zombies are extremely sensitive to noise. "Don't make a sound." Maybe because he had run too fast, his warm breath rapidly brushed against my ear. It tickled a bit, and I instinctively shrank my neck, uncomfortably moving back a little. I asked him in a low voice, "You still haven't answered my question. Why are you following me?" Cedric was the undisputed heartthrob and top dog at school, tall, handsome, and wealthy. More importantly, he was unbeatable in a fight. It was rumored that he once single-handedly sent a group of 7 or 8 thugs to the hospital. Many at school had a crush on him, myself included, but all that feels like a distant memory now. Ever since I was diagnosed with advanced cancer, everything seemed meaningless. Unexpectedly, Cedric said with a slight blush, "Aren't you the one who just saved my life, expecting me to pledge myself to you in return? I thought I'd owe you a life debt, ready to serve you in my next life. But since you're asking for more, from now on, I'm yours," he continued. I stared at Cedric, my mind filled with question marks. Then it hit me. Was Cedric the guy I had just pulled away from a zombie's grasp? "But when did I ever ask you to pledge yourself to me?" Cedric replied innocently. "When you saved me from that zombie and opened your arms. Wasn't that a gesture for me to throw myself into your embrace as a way to repay you?" "Since it was a matter of life and death," I agreed. Cedric's face, usually cool and charming, was serious. When he said I agreed, his deep, handsome eyes showed no sign of jesting. In the past, I would have been secretly thrilled. Who would have thought that one day I could make the school's top heartthrob pledge himself to me? No. However, I didn't hesitate to refuse. "You misunderstood. I don't need you to pledge yourself to me. It's dangerous out there. Just stay here and hide." After saying that, I opened the door and rushed out without looking back. From the adjacent building, I could hear zombies howling and people screaming. Following the sounds, I quickly found a few zombies pinning a boy to the ground. I immediately charged towards them shouting, "Stop, bite me first." Before I could finish, the zombies ran off without turning back. The boy on the ground and I looked at each other in disbelief, but within seconds, someone grabbed my hand and started running forward. It was Cedric. He called out to the boy on the ground, "Run. The zombies are coming." The boy, shocked, scrambled up and ran with us. Hearing zombies approaching from behind, I tried to let go of Cedric's hand to run back, but his grip was too strong. Resigned, I shouted, "I can't run anymore. Don't let me slow you down. The zombies are almost upon us. You guys go ahead. I'll hold them off." I feigned exhaustion, hoping Cedric would let go, but without a moment's hesitation, he scooped me up and continued running. The boy beside us was visibly moved. "You're so brave." Sob, sob, sob. "I've actually been bitten by a zombie. You guys go on. I'll hold them back." Just as he finished speaking, Cedric, without looking back, said, "Being bitten by a zombie doesn't guarantee you'll turn into one. You might also develop special abilities. You should find a safe place to hide where there are no people." Hearing this, the boy quickly opened a nearby door and rushed inside. I was completely stunned. Being bitten by a zombie doesn't guarantee you'll become one, then what does guarantee it? Before I could sort through my confusion, Cedric carried me into a room, which happened to be the student council's activity room. As the president of the student council, he was very familiar with the place. He expertly locked the doors and windows and drew the curtains. Still feeling it wasn't enough, he pulled me into a storage room inside. As soon as I entered, I saw it was stocked with plenty of snacks and drinks. Cedric, catching his breath, sighed in relief. "Good, the supplies are still here. It should last us 4 or 5 days." I, who had always been a fan of zombie shows, couldn't help but ask somewhat mood-killingly, "You plan to stay here for 4 or 5 days? Have you thought about how we're going to deal with our basic needs?" Cedric was visibly frustrated and didn't want to deal with me anymore. I wanted to sneak out of the activity room to look for zombies. Every time I tried to make a move, he noticed. Eventually, I told him straightforwardly that I wanted to leave, but Cedric insisted that if I were to go, we would go together. So, I pretended to be well-behaved for a couple of days. During this time, I made several excuses about needing to go to the bathroom. But Cedric took me to a storeroom in the corner that had a single-person bathroom where you could even take a shower. This time, I came up with a new excuse. "It's too stuffy in the activity room. I feel like I'm suffocating. I need to get some fresh air." Cedric gave me a long, measured look. "Elise, you've been running into zombie crowds. Are you trying to get bitten to become a mutant?" He changed the subject quickly. I wasn't eager for anyone to know that the hospital had issued a death notice for me, giving me at most half a year to live. I just nodded at Cedric. "Yeah, I want to become a mutant." I was amazed inside. Had the world really become so fantastical? Not only had the apocalypse arrived, but mutants had appeared too. I wasn't even sure if Cedric was talking about the kind of mutants from novels who could manipulate elements like wind, fire, thunder, and lightning. Nor did I know if I would ever get to see such incredible abilities. Cedric looked at me with a complex expression and after a long pause, as if he had made up his mind, he said, "Then kiss me." I was utterly confused and stammered. "What did you just say?" "I must have heard you wrong." Cedric coldly replied, "You heard right. To gain mutant abilities, kiss me. My saliva can trigger mutations." After hearing this, I calmly responded with an "oh," while internally I was screaming. Cedric had gone mad from fear of the zombies. It was tragic, a once formidable school tyrant now mentally disturbed, but I couldn't jump to conclusions. I asked him, "Are you also suggesting that your saliva can cure the zombie virus?" Before Cedric could answer, sudden chaotic footsteps and banging on doors came from outside. "Hurry up, get in." Some idiot locked the activity room, but luckily I brought the key. Hearing the noise outside, Cedric's expression turned sharp. He quickly pulled me into the storeroom inside the activity room. As I was about to speak, he placed his long, attractive finger on my lips to signal me to be quiet. We leaned against the door, eavesdropping. It seemed two people, a man and a woman, had entered the activity room. The man spoke irritably. "Cedric sure has 9 lives. He didn't die from that. No idea where he's hiding. We've been searching for so long." I was shocked. It suddenly dawned on me that Cedric being pushed towards the zombies might have been deliberate. Could the person who pushed Cedric be one of these outsiders? There's no need to be so anxious. Based on what happened in the last timeline, the rescue team won't arrive at the school for at least another half-month. We have plenty of time to find Cedric and kill him. The woman spoke, and I was even more stunned. It was Eden from our class. What did she mean by last timeline? Why were they plotting to kill Cedric? I'm just worried that if the news about his saliva not only triggering mutant abilities but also curing the zombie virus gets out, it will be like last time. Everyone will protect him, keeping him safe and sound. What did I just hear? Cedric's saliva could cure the zombie virus. He could be the hope for all humanity. Eden spoke up again. It seems there are no more zombies outside. The activity room isn't safe. Let's grab some food and get out of here. Cedric noticed they were about to enter. He quickly scanned the surroundings, pulling me along. We headed to the back where various items were piled up and found a gap to squeeze into and crouched down. Cedric, seemingly worried that I might make a noise, covered my mouth. The door to the storage room was soon opened. Through the gap, I saw a robust young man enter. To my surprise, it was Colton, Cedric's close friend. Relieved, he noticed the food and water, thankfully. These supplies weren't exhausted before the zombie outbreak. He started stuffing various food items into a hiking backpack. Soon, he had packed almost all the food, leaving behind just a few bottles of drinks. They left quickly and didn't even close the door, thinking about Cedric being humanity's last hope. And despite my impending death, I couldn't bear to see humanity struggle and possibly perish in this hellish apocalypse. I hurriedly ran out to close the door. Luckily, the corridor was free of zombies. After securing the door, I looked at Cedric, engulfed in distress. The conversation I overheard from Eden sounded too fantastical, but, as someone who has read various novels about time travel and rebirth, I guessed that Eden and Colton had been reborn. They must be delusional, knowing Cedric is humanity's hope yet still wanting to kill him. Knowing that Cedric is still in danger and humanity's hope, I couldn't abandon him at such a time. Thinking of it as doing a good deed, I decided to ensure Cedric's safety before any zombie could bite me. Eden had mentioned that this place was not safe. The remaining food had also been taken. I asked Cedric, "Do you know any safe places in the school? The gym, maybe?" I nodded. "Then let's find some food first, and head to the gym to check it out." Suddenly, I realized something I had been ignoring. How do you know your saliva can trigger someone else's abilities? And how do you know the gym is safe? You aren't also reborn like Eden, are you? Cedric's gaze momentarily sharpened. "Innocently," he said. "Before the outbreak, I accidentally overheard them talking some strange things. I didn't pay attention. After the outbreak, I understood what they meant. It suddenly dawned on me." I looked at Cedric with a bit of pity, being betrayed by his close friend, almost killed. And hearing that Colton was constantly after his life must be incredibly hard to bear. I suggested Cedric wait here while I went to get food. He refused to stay, insisting on coming with me. I told him, "If we encounter zombies, don't worry about me, just run." "Okay." Cedric pursed his lips and didn't speak, his deep eyes just gazing steadily at me. The emotion in his eyes was unreadable. I cautiously led Cedric outside. I was prepared. If we couldn't escape a zombie, I would sacrifice myself to give him a chance to escape, to avoid the zombies. I specifically led Cedric through quieter areas. We planned to circle around to the cafeteria and supermarket to get food. Miraculously, along the way, we encountered almost no zombies. Even the zombies we saw from afar didn't approach us and seemed to be subtly keeping their distance, perhaps because it wasn't mealtime when the outbreak occurred. As we approached the cafeteria, surprisingly, we didn't encounter any zombies. I found it strange. Where had all the zombies gone? I didn't dwell on it too much. Cedric and I entered the cafeteria, planning to check out the kitchen. When we tried to push the door open, we found it was locked, and we could hear disgusted voices from inside. "Go away, quickly, don't draw the zombies here." "Yeah, we're definitely not opening the door, just leave." Me, I don't know why, but I felt really annoyed. I threatened them immediately, "If you want me to leave, then bring me some food and drinks. I want sausages and instant noodles. At least 10 of each, otherwise, I'll start attracting zombies here, and when I turn into one, I'll be coming for you." The entire cafeteria fell into an eerie silence. Muffled curses came from inside, but I couldn't make them out clearly. After a while, a timid woman at the serving window pushed out a dozen or so packets of instant noodles and sausages. She said, "Please, just go." Then she quickly retreated back inside. I calmly gestured for Cedric to help me with the food, suppressing a laugh. He gave me a thumbs up. He then grabbed a few plastic bags to pack the sausages and noodles and took some bottled water that was placed outside. Carrying the food, he asked me, where to now? 15. The cafeteria was quite far from the gym. The day slowly turned to dusk. Cedric and I made it back to the activity room without further incidents. We planned to head to the gym the next day. Through the window, I saw many zombies wandering outside, many in training uniforms, clearly freshmen. Who could have imagined that a zombie outbreak would happen so suddenly? It had already been 3 days. At night, the zombies' howling became more excited and frequent. There were occasional screams and cries. Listening to them made me feel uneasy, although I had imagined what it would be like if a zombie apocalypse really happened and how I would smartly save myself. Now that it was real, I only had one wish: for all the zombies to disappear immediately. Suddenly, the campus broadcast started. All surviving students and faculty are advised to reach the gym by noon tomorrow for shelter. Rescue teams are waiting there. The broadcast repeated 3 times. I was surprised. Had the rescue team arrived so quickly? I looked at Cedric happily. He just then asked me, Elise, have you ever thought about leaving the school? I shook my head without hesitation. My parents had passed away early, and I was terminally ill. Where else could I go after leaving school? I had no attachments to this world. I asked Cedric, are you worried about your family's safety, wanting to go home to check on them? To my surprise, he shook his head. He looked at me seriously and said, I wanted to retreat to the mountains with someone, but she refused, saying she wanted to save the world. Who did he want to retreat with? I didn't catch that, but I was taken aback. Did Cedric have someone he liked or a girlfriend? In the past, I might have been secretly heartbroken, now, thinking that I could die at any moment. I didn't feel much. 16. Early the next morning, I urged Cedric to head to the gym. We were extremely cautious along the way. However, as we turned a corner, we suddenly came face to face with a zombie. I was about to scream, but the zombie suddenly yelled in panic, turned around, and ran stiffly as if its life depended on it. I was completely baffled. Shouldn't we be the ones screaming and running away? I stared blankly at Cedric. He seemed quite calm, even motioning for me to keep moving forward. During our journey, we encountered a few zombies face to face. I grabbed Cedric, ready to run, but the zombies suddenly roared loudly. Roar, run fast. It was as if I could hear the zombies' voices panicking in my head. Confused, I doubted what I heard. I urged Cedric to continue with me to the playground. There, numerous zombies lay fallen, their heads pierced, and there were dozens of zombies staggering around. Just as I was contemplating whether to distract the zombies myself to let Cedric escape to the gym, the zombies not far ahead sniffed the air and began dispersing slowly around us as the center point. Reflecting on the events of yesterday and today, I realized something was very off. These zombies were avoiding us. Suddenly, I turned to Cedric and sniffed him intensely, despite not having bathed for 3 days. A faint scent of his unique cool cedar aroma still lingered. Cedric asked me, what are you doing? I asked earnestly. Is there something on you that repels zombies? Have you sprayed some kind of unique perfume they dislike? I felt it was all Cedric's fault that the zombies hadn't bitten me. Cedric looked at me, speechless, seeming to want to say something, but he ended up saying nothing. He just reminded me, the zombies are gone. Seeing this, I led Cedric towards the gym. To my surprise, the gym was filled with nearly 1,000 students and teachers. Most importantly, a fully armed rescue team was indeed there, maintaining order. When we appeared, the rescue team immediately opened the doors to let us in. After drawing our blood, they placed us in isolation. The incubation period for a zombie bite is up to 4 hours. If all goes well, the rescue vehicle will arrive this afternoon to take everyone to the nearest base. Please wait patiently. Sitting in a corner, Cedric and I noticed many classmates staring at us. I found my vision had improved significantly. Quickly spotting Eden and Colton in the crowd, looking at us with hostility, I glanced at Cedric with some concern, hesitating whether to wait for him to board the vehicle before leaving. I had no intention of leaving with the rescue team. As someone close to death, there was no need to waste a chance to live. In the afternoon, the sound of silencers and trucks approached. In a few minutes, about a dozen military trucks parked outside. Each truck could squeeze in at least 100 people. Seeing the trucks, many classmates cried with joy, relieved to be saved. They rushed to get on the vehicles, but I quietly retreated to a hidden corner. Just as I was about to hide, someone grabbed my hand. I turned to see Cedric. Come on, let's go to the base together. Trust me, this apocalypse will end soon. I was puzzled. Cedric pulled me onto the truck. 2 hours later, when I saw the towering walls of the base, I was astounded. Wasn't this just the 4th day of the zombie outbreak? The base was already built. Perhaps noticing my confusion, Cedric quietly told me, actually, 2 months ago, the authorities had sensed the apocalyptic crisis and made several preparations to minimize losses. I was deeply moved. Indeed, when the sky falls, there is someone tall to hold it up. Before entering the base, we had to register our personal information. I was surprised to find that there was an option to have supernatural abilities. Speaking of which, I haven't yet seen someone use their powers to fight zombies in person. After registering my information, I was isolated for another 4 hours. During that time, I heard that someone at another isolation point suddenly turned into a zombie, almost causing a loss of control. I thought I would be placed in a basic, crowded tent area. Instead, a coordinator personally escorted me to a clean, single-person apartment, where meals, along with food and water, were delivered to me daily. Upon asking, I learned that Cedric had volunteered his special ability. His saliva could purify the zombie virus. He was taken for examination, and the people at the base were instructed to protect me. I was somewhat worried about him, after all. In the novels, someone as unique as Cedric could end up being dissected or something, never to return. I waited for a month and witnessed the base transform from initial chaos to well-organized tranquility. People with supernatural abilities led others to gather supplies. Currency hadn't turned worthless. It could still be used but was severely devalued. 20 or 30,000 could only buy a small piece of bread now. Jade and gold became the hard currencies. I finally met the legendary supernatural beings. A fire type could create small fireballs at his fingertips, a water type could produce a thin stream of water from theirs, a strength type could easily bend metal rods, and an earth type could manipulate sand and soil, but their abilities were more show than utility, nothing like the powerful feats described in novels, relying solely on their powers. They couldn't even kill a single zombie. Over the past month, I felt my health deteriorating. I frequently heard various sounds, and sometimes even heard someone furiously complaining about a jerk who deceived her feelings for a few pieces of bread, which was quite interesting. I was very worried about Cedric. I asked several times if I could see him but was refused each time and reminded to keep his special ability secret for now. I was scared that I might die before seeing Cedric again. Fortunately, another week passed, and Cedric returned looking a bit pale but in good spirits. He was still incredibly handsome and dazzling. When he saw me, he flashed a stunningly brilliant smile. Elise, a vaccine for the zombie virus will soon be available. The world won't end, he assured me. At that moment, it seemed as if he was glowing softly. My heart raced uncontrollably. He truly deserved his title as the handsomest guy in school for 3 consecutive years. Without realizing it, I too smiled. It was a relief that Cedric was all right. I could now leave the base to find a zombie to bite me without worries. I didn't want Cedric or anyone else to see me in an ugly and painful state before I died. The next day, I secretly joined a team I had previously chosen to go out and gather resources. Just as we were boarding the vehicle, Cedric appeared out of nowhere and jumped in as well. I was stunned and quickly asked him, "Why are you following?" It's like the saying goes, "Where you go, I go. I've already devoted myself to you. Don't think you can shake me off," he naturally replied. As he spoke, I could feel all the women in the vehicle glaring at me with a mix of envy, jealousy, and resentment. I almost choked. I whispered to him, "Didn't I tell you that you didn't need to devote yourself? Just be my loyal servant in the next life." After I spoke, Cedric gave me a particularly complex look and asked, "Are you sure you want me to be your servant?" I nodded subconsciously, just wishing he'd see reason and return to the safety of the base. He hesitated for a moment, then leaned close to my ear and whispered twice, "Moo, say, me. If he keeps flirting with me like this, I really won't be able to resist tarnishing his reputation before I die." For Cedric's sake, I decided to keep my distance from him and try to strike up a conversation with others on the bus. Their attention was captivated by the zombies outside. Someone exclaimed in surprise, "It's strange. Why are the zombies running away when they hear the car today?" "Yeah, we're really lucky today. There have been very few zombies along the way." Hearing that there were fewer zombies made my heart skip a beat. I hoped that later I would manage to find a zombie to bite or scratch me. Half an hour passed, and the bus stopped in front of a large building. The leader instructed everyone to quickly get off the bus and look for food in the nearby shops while there were few zombies around. His team would clear the zombies near the building and wait for everyone for 4 hours. If anyone didn't return within 4 hours, they were on their own. This was exactly what I had hoped for. Just as I was about to leave, Cedric followed me step by step. Thinking of how he had stubbornly fixated on me gave me a headache. I had no choice but to pull him aside into a corner and, gritting my teeth, I spoke harshly to him. "Cedric, do you think you're so handsome that everyone is vying for you? Even if you offered yourself to me, I wouldn't take you. I don't want to see you, let alone have you sacrifice yourself for me. If you had any self-awareness." Before I could finish, Cedric interrupted, "Then I should just go back to the base and never show up in front of you again, right?" I was taken aback and stared at him wide-eyed. Is he a mind reader? How did he know what I was about to say? I stood there with my mouth open, looking foolish. Cedric looked at me with those deep eyes that seemed to see right through me. The second time, confused, I frowned. What second time? He didn't answer me. Instead, he turned and walked towards the others. Watching his tall figure confidently walking away, I felt an inexplicable tightness in my chest. I didn't want to say such harsh things to him, but I had no choice. I turned and ran towards less crowded areas, running fast, fearing that I might not resist going back to apologize to Cedric. I knew that this was probably a forever goodbye. I kept running, wanting to get as far away as possible. That way, when I turned into a zombie, it would be less likely for Cedric to see me. I don't know how long I ran. It felt like half an hour, and strangely, I wasn't tired at all, just extremely hungry. The pain came in spasms, unsure if it was from pancreatic cancer or just extreme hunger. I didn't want to think too much. Looking around, there were no zombies to be seen. Even though I had seen some running in front and around me while I was running, why did they disappear as soon as I stopped? I had no choice but to look for food first. Luckily, there was a supermarket nearby. I had heard that supermarkets usually had the most zombies. I was nervous but slightly excited. I hoped to get bitten, yet I also hoped that the zombies wouldn't suddenly startle me too badly when I entered the supermarket. With a nervous heart, I walked into the supermarket. There were rustling sounds. There must be zombies. I instinctively lightened my footsteps, weaving through the aisles in search. As I rounded the corner, I saw several zombies ahead, silently walking away from me. At that moment, auditory hallucinations struck again. Go, flee, flee. I ignored them and silently followed. They're coming, a somewhat fearful voice echoed in my mind. The zombies quickened their pace as if they were about to run. I quickly shouted, I'm right here, come bite me. The zombies abruptly turned around, and they were truly hideous, with shriveled, bluish-black faces that would haunt one's dreams if stared at too long. I was ready for them to charge at me. Unexpectedly, their expressions changed drastically. Help! That voice resounded in my head again. They scrambled to turn around and flee but, being too stiff, all tripped and fell to the ground. Seeing such a rare opportunity, I quickly approached. Just then, the voice, accompanied by the zombies howling, rang out again. Don't come any closer, I frowned. Was this really just a hallucination? It almost sounded like the zombies were speaking. Despite my confusion, I still moved forward and caught one of the crawling zombies. I grabbed his shirt and placed my hand near his mouth. Bite me. Just take a bite, but the zombie desperately leaned his head back, avoiding my hand. With a crack, the zombie's head tilted and hung limply to the ground, as if its neck was broken. What the heck, are zombie necks so fragile? Seeing that this zombie was motionless, I immediately went for another. I quickly stuffed my hand into its mouth. With a click, I felt a slight itch in my hand and pulled it back, unharmed. But the zombie's teeth clattered to the ground one after another. I was dumbfounded. This was a zombie with rotten teeth, unable to bite, and even its teeth crumbled. Indeed, less sugar is a must. Otherwise, even as a zombie, you can't bite properly, which is quite tragic. I targeted the last zombie on the ground, which kept struggling to get up but failed. It was odd, keeping its mouth tightly shut, opting for an alternative. I noticed its nails were black and sharp. After a moment's thought, I grabbed its fingers and with a gritted teeth, drew them heavily across my arm. Crack. Crack, crack, the zombie's nails snapped off. There was not even a scratch on my arm. Something was off. Why were these zombies so fragile? Curious, I tried dragging all three zombies' nails across my arm. Without exception, all their nails broke. Disheartened, I crouched on the ground, watching the zombies crawl away using their hands and feet. A slow, stiff voice echoed in my mind. So terrifying. I felt it was indeed terrifying. If all zombies were this fragile, how could I ever get bitten or scratched and turn into one? Overwhelmed by sadness, I indulged myself in the supermarket, eating a lot and drinking 3 bottles of mineral water. After eating and drinking my fill, I finally had a good idea. These zombies must have been too dried out or of a lower class. The novels mentioned that zombies have ranks, like the legendary Zombie King, whose teeth and nails would surely be harder than steel and concrete. I packed a backpack with plenty of food and water and set out on the quest to find the Zombie King. Along the way, I encountered many zombies, but they all fled before I could get close. I realized then that these zombies were avoiding me, not Cedric. I quickly sniffed myself, and there was no bad smell. 2 days later, as I walked, a flurry of urgent voices suddenly filled my mind. I'm hungry. There's food inside. Break into the building. It's full of food. What do we do, Captain? We've been surrounded for 2 or 3 days now, and there are more and more zombies below. We can't get out. We can only wait to die. So many zombies have been drawn here. Cedric is doomed this time. It's just a pity. The zombie vaccine is almost developed. We can't let it be discovered again, like in the last life, that Cedric's blood can be used to create a potion that eliminates people's special abilities. I don't want to be an ordinary lower-class person again. I clutched my head in pain, trying to shake off the hallucinations, but hearing that Cedric was going to die, I couldn't stay calm. If I heard right, the voice saying Cedric was going to die sounded like it was Eden, the popular girl. I pressed forward, enduring the discomfort in my head. The voices became clearer when I saw the entrance of the building surrounded by at least thousands of zombies. I immediately recognized it as the place we had left our car a few days ago. Could it be that Cedric and the others didn't return that day and had been trapped in this building ever since? On the right, I could hear Eden and Colton's voices from inside a building. Why haven't these zombies broken through the door yet? They are too weak. Shall we sneak over and try to break the door or the tempered glass? Their voices were so clear, it was as if they were speaking right into my ear. I glanced at the building and then back at the crowd of zombies. One particularly neat-looking zombie, with a somewhat pale and clean face, was staring emotionlessly at the building. I could clearly hear the commanding voice in my mind. Everyone, push hard. The food is right before your eyes. Push hard. I guessed immediately that this zombie was of a higher level than the others. I revealed myself and rolled up my sleeves, shouting at the zombies, "Look at my skin, so white and delicate. Don't you crave a bite?" Perhaps my voice was too loud. The high-level zombie saw me, and I could clearly see its shock. Stammering, it roared in my mind, "Run, run. If we don't run, we're dead, zombies." Other zombies echoed in agreement, "Run, run." Zombies running away. I immediately focused on the high-level zombie. The other zombies, confused, scattered in all directions. The high-level zombie, under my gaze, didn't move, its legs trembling, fearing it might escape. I rushed towards it. I hadn't even managed to speak when, with a thud, the high-level zombie knelt before me. I was stunned. Had the zombie's legs gone weak? Then, Eden's astonished voice rang in my mind. "My goodness, what's happening? That's Elise, right? Why would the future zombie king kneel before Elise? What the heck? That's the future ruler of millions, perhaps billions, of zombies. Why would it kneel before an ordinary person? Wait, zombies. Lots of zombies are running in." I was equally astonished. The one kneeling before me was the future zombie king. Surely its teeth and nails must be the hardest among zombies. I quickly moved my hand towards its mouth. "Bite me or scratch me quickly," but it immediately leaned back expressionlessly to avoid me. At the same time, its voice echoed in my mind, "I'm really fed up with you. Number 6, please just leave." I was not pleased. How did I end up being number 6? Annoyed, I said, "You'd better bite me quickly. Don't make me pry open your mouth." The future zombie king's rigid gaze was filled with speechlessness and fear as it looked at me. Its voice echoed in my mind again. This number 6 not only chases my kind every day, left the building and left me behind, devastated and alone. These translations capture the essence and emotions of the original text rather than providing a word-for-word translation. The result was that both he and the zombie king fell off the cliff, perishing together. Cedric's words conveyed sadness and despair. They made my heart ache, and left me somewhat puzzled. "What do you mean by that?" Unable to hold back any longer, Cedric suddenly pulled me into his embrace, holding me tightly. "Elise, why are you seeking death? In our past life, it was the same. We had agreed that once the apocalypse was over, we would retire to the mountains, but then you went out once and returned injured, saying you were accidentally scratched by a zombie. Did you, in our previous life, deliberately seek out a zombie to scratch you? I really regret that I thought of tying you up with a rope and dragging you back to the base, but I turned around for a moment and you had run off. Past life, I understood now. Cedric had also been reborn, but, in that past life, did Cedric and I really have an agreement to retire to the mountains together? That seemed impossible. I had a terminal illness and wasn't expected to live long. I wouldn't have easily made such promises, but hearing the pain in Cedric's voice, I sighed deeply and said sincerely, "I'm sorry. I wasn't intentionally seeking death. I actually have terminal pancreatic cancer, even without turning into a zombie. I have less than 6 months left to live." Cedric's pupils dilated as he gripped my shoulders, looking at me in disbelief. "So, in both lives, you're constant running into the zombie hordes. Do you know what my special ability is? My bodily fluids, saliva, blood, even sweat, can eliminate all mutant viruses and mutated cells, including cancer." I was stunned. Did Cedric mean that his saliva could cure cancer? Had all my desperate attempts to die been in vain? Cedric was stunned too. We looked at each other, speechless. Finally, he sighed. "Never mind, who asked me to fall for such a silly little fool like you? If you're going to turn into a zombie, let's do it together." That night, he wanted to stay by my side, to be the first one I bid if I turned into a zombie. I strongly refused. I locked the door. I felt a warmth around me, probably a sign of turning into a zombie soon, but the wound hadn't turned black, which was strange. I didn't think much of it and used a rope I had prepared to tie around my waist before sleeping. This way, even if I woke up as a zombie, I wouldn't wander off or bite anyone who came in. During the night, my mind was a blur. Scenes flashed through my mind like slides in a projector. Starting from the day the zombie outbreak began, I saw myself wanting to die because of the cancer, seeking out zombies to end it. But Cedric saved me. He pulled me along, hiding from zombies in the school to survive. We went through many rejections and even fights over food with others, fortunately. We held on until the rescue team arrived. Cedric and I went through a lot, and I found myself not wanting to leave him so soon, so I followed him to the base. Each time I made an excuse to go out for supplies. I was actually looking for an opportunity to find zombies, but Cedric always followed me, not wanting him to get hurt. I couldn't make it too obvious. However, one time, an accident still happened. Cedric got scratched while trying to protect me from a zombie. I cried bitterly, despite my tears. Cedric still found the mood to tease. You don't look very graceful crying. Instead of asking for your hand in return for saving you, just be my servant in the next life. But before he passed out, he confessed his true feelings. Grasping my hand with eyes full of reluctance, he said, "Elise, ever since I was a kid, I've dreamed of retreating to the mountains with the one I love. I really wish we could escape there together." I didn't refuse. I simply nodded. As long as we survive, we'll retreat to the mountains. What I was actually thinking was that I was going to die too, and turning into a zombie together wouldn't be so bad. Fortunately, Cedric didn't turn into a zombie. Back at the base, it was discovered that he had always possessed a special ability. Not only was it specifically effective against zombies, but it could also awaken abilities in others. The base was overjoyed. A vaccine for the zombie plague seemed within reach. Cedric became a high-priority protectee at the base. However, my health was deteriorating. Cedric treated me like his girlfriend and was very good to me. He even said that once the apocalypse was over, we'd immediately retreat to the mountains. Yet, I regretted my quick response to his declaration. To make him give up on me, I secretly sought out the Zombie King and ended up getting scratched. When I returned, I endured the pain and harshly told Cedric that I didn't like him at all. Nor did I want to offer myself to him. My health continued to worsen. Meanwhile, the Zombie King grew stronger and reportedly led several successful assaults on human bases. I guess that my ability was to instill a natural fear in zombies. Even the Zombie King could barely harm me. I told Cedric that I was going to save the world. I found the Zombie King and dragged him down a cliff with me. I don't know how long I slept. When I opened my eyes, bright sunlight streamed through the window. Confused, I quickly checked my arms. Not only had I not turned into a zombie, but my wounds also seemed nearly healed. I was utterly shocked. I hadn't turned into a zombie. Just then, the door opened easily. Cedric, seeing I was awake, visibly relaxed. Then, trying to appear nonchalant, he said, "I made some porridge. Come out and eat. Then we'll head back to the base." I quickly told him I didn't turn into a zombie. Cedric remained calm. "Yes. It wasn't in vain that I gambled everything last night to treat your wounds." I was completely baffled. "How did you treat them?" Looking at his attractive, flushed lips brought inappropriate images to my mind. My face heated up. Cedric, seemingly recalling something, with a slightly reddened face, said somewhat annoyed, "Your stomach is practically composing a symphony. Aren't you going to eat?" His comment made me realize how painfully hungry I was. Of course. It might also be the pain from the cancer. I quietly ate, my eyes fixed on his lips. I hadn't forgotten his claim that his saliva could cure even cancer. The dream from last night felt so real. Looking at Cedric now, who seemed like the most beautiful person in the world, I absolutely didn't want to die. After hesitating for a long while, I timidly asked Cedric about your offer to be with me. Does it still stand? He simply raised an eyebrow and replied, "I thought you weren't interested." I had no choice but to shamelessly ask again. "After you were scratched by a zombie in your past life, do you still want to retreat to the mountains with me?" Cedric suddenly turned to look at me, his deep eyes twinkling with an undeniable delight. "Do you have the memories from your past life as well?" I had just nodded when Cedric pulled me into his embrace. We had been back at the base for only a few days when the good news came. The zombie vaccine had been successfully developed. Everyone cheered and lined up to get vaccinated, since turning into a zombie was irreversible, with no way to turn back into a human and no traceable cause for the virus outbreak. The only option was to implement a plan to completely eradicate the zombies. The leaders said it would take about 3 years to completely eliminate the zombies, and everyone was actively cooperating. Meanwhile, I was troubled by something else. Although Cedric had agreed to let me offer myself to him, he was never proactive in kissing me. This forced me to persistently find excuses to kiss him. Like today, he was sitting on the sofa, reading the latest newspaper. I immediately complimented him. "Wow, Cedric, your lips look so appealing, not too thin or thick. Just luscious and glossy like jelly. I really want to kiss them." Cedric's eyes sparkled with amusement, and he nodded. "Yes, you can." In a bid to cure my cancer sooner, I took every opportunity to kiss him fervently. Cedric even pleaded for mercy. Seeing that I was not yet satisfied, he whispered in my ear with a restrained laugh, "Actually, there's another way you can get more of what you desire. And it could help your cancer heal faster." I quickly asked him, "What way?" Cedric's gaze deepened, and his voice grew huskily soft as he whispered something to me. My face instantly flushed red, and I couldn't bring myself to look at him anymore.